doing?
Labor Day weekend started already, and it started a few days ago on this platform. And Shane Davidson might have been figuring out something. Alan Michaels is having a cannoli. I didn't know those things actually exist in Tennessee. Randy Dillon's trying to just figure this all out. TBK is ready for football season. That's next week, but we'll get you ready here for Bash at Berlin. We'll talk about what's going on in the world of wrestling, AEW. Maybe I'll ask Alan Michaels about trampoline versus no trampoline, or trampoline versus ring, and maybe I won't ask him that because he's going to say, well, I'm going to not get into that debate, but only kidding. But, gentlemen, how you doing? Happy Friday. Another big week ahead here on Sportzwire Radio. It's closing out the month here in style. Maybe summer's almost toward an end, but how you guys all feeling tonight here?
Doing pretty good, Tom. Just before we start the show, just want a couple of condolences. Psycho Sid passed away earlier this week, and then for us hockey fans out there, the passing of Johnny Gaudreau earlier today. So,
I think if you're just a fan of life, right, living, that's just a horrible story. My goodness, I mean, just you couldn't ask for anything worse to hear, and it was. On X, it was kind of a rumor, and then it unfortunately got confirmed, I think, at about 6 o'clock in the morning. But, but for us wrestling fans, Psycho Sid, maybe it's a good one to spend a couple minutes on. Psycho Sid passes away, former two-time WWF champion, WCW champion a couple times, main evented WrestleMania twice against Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker. And you guys have a thought or two on Psycho Sid and just his passing?
Psycho Sid was he was a character, man. I mean, he was definitely a character, but also at the end of the day, I mean, he was one of the first, big men to really like take that mantle. I feel like he really was a big dude who he could wrestle. I mean, he wasn't just a big lumbering, stumbling guy. I mean, he could really get in there and get technical with it.
Very absolutely. Shawn Michaels, he had wars with. Sting, he had wars with. I mean, we'll leave aside the scissors incident with Arn Anderson. But, yeah, he had some, Bret Hart, he had some great matches with him. I mean, yeah, Psycho Sid, was a linchpin for a while in the 90s. One of those guys. And, had main evented a lot of shows. Was a world champion in both promotions. Had a run in ECW even. Yeah, just a tough loss. And, anybody else have a thought or two on Psycho Sid? It's a good topic.
Yeah, yes. I gotta.
You're a fellow. You're a big man. You can answer. You're an actual big man. So let's hear what you have to say, Mr. Big Man.
No, my condolences will go out to the family of Psycho Sid, but here's my thing.
All right. What do you got
for me personally,
yes, sir.
I didn't watch Psycho Sid. So therefore he's not a very broad name for me. I know the name. I've seen him wrestle once or twice, but the only time I've seen him wrestle, he injured himself. So I didn't really get the full
effect. Are you talking about the incident with Scott Steiner, right, in WCW?
I'm talking about, the incident where he shattered his whole leg.
His leg,
off the top rope.
But back to what I was saying, pretty much, he's not a big name in my book. I didn't get the luxury of being able to watch Psycho Sid, so I don't know his craft. But I do wish the family condolences.
Okay, I mean that's an honest answer. I mean, look, he was a different generation. I mean, for you, TBK and Randy, a thought on Psycho Sid?
Yeah. Go ahead, Randy.
Sorry, TBK. Yeah, with Psycho Sid, I would say, you go back to WrestleMania 13 and the whole Shawn and Bret, where Shawn lost his smile, didn't want to wrestle Bret at WrestleMania, the Infinite rematch. I know a lot of people hate his and Taker's match, but I thought for him, like, him just getting pushed in that situation, dealing with it, taking the main event. And I think to Alan Michael's point, like him being a big man, they just lost Kevin Nash and some of the work he did as well in WWE. So like, I think sometimes we underestimate how much he meant to the company during his time. And again, just condolence to the family.
Fair point. You want to say something, TBK?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same spectrum as Shane. I can't sit here and claim that I was a Psycho Sid fan or anything like that, but I will say, knowing what I know about him, he was one of those big guys who really proved that, he was much more than a monster. He could actually wrestle. Those guys like Taker and Kane who could actually move, do the high flying thing if he wanted to. And, I saw an interview he did, and it was not long before he passed away. And man, it was it was sad. It's even more sad now that he's gone. But he really felt that the fans deserved and the fans wanted to see him get that Hall of Fame. And now, obviously, it's almost like they're obligated to do it, which is, it's sad that the man has to be gone to get his flowers, but he's going to get them and well-deserved. And absolutely my same sentiment, condolences to the family, and is what it is.
I mean, we'll obviously get into current events, but interesting point you made. Guys like him and Lex Luger, probably the two maybe obvious ones that aren't in the Hall of Fame. Owen Hart's a completely different, discussion. But again, you look at a guy that's been a world champion, main evented 2 WrestleManias, albeit probably 2 of the worst WrestleManias in history. If we look back in attendance, we look at the overall card. I mean, sure, Steve Austin and Bret Hart had a hell of a match, but it's not looked upon fondly. WrestleMania 13, WrestleMania 8, was kind of at the end of WWF's glory era at that time. I mean, there was still, again, Flair and Savage, had Taker and Jake Roberts, but it's, Bret and Piper, but it's not really remembered as a memorable, iconic WrestleMania. So maybe that hurts him a bit, and also guys like Shane, guys like TBK and Randy made a fair point in that this generation doesn't know him because he was almost after his injury at the end of WCW. He really didn't wrestle much after that. He really wrestled, I think, like a dozen matches in the independents afterwards. And he only had really, maybe 1-2 appearances in the WWE after that. And I don't know why that was. Was it because he was injured or he was just done? I mean, I don't really know, because they brought him back a bunch of times. He had, at least 2 or 3 different stints in the WWF, and he was their world champion twice. But this generation didn't see him. He didn't really resonate in that sense. So maybe that's why some people don't look at him in the same breath as other big men. But Alan makes a good point also. He did have some really good matches in the 90s. He was, if you look at for the previous generation, it kind of in this whole debate in the backyard of the old guys versus the young guys, the old guys would look at him fondly, because in the 90s, he was in a lot of main events. You think about WCW and the WWF for about an 8-9 year period. He main evented with Flair, Hogan a bunch of times, Kevin Nash. I mean, some of those matches really weren't very good. Bret Hart, certainly, and Shawn Michaels. And he had a lot of big main events. He was a main event player. But in this generation, the past quarter century, he doesn't really mean much. So maybe that's why we get lost in the shuffle with him. Also, Kevin Sullivan. I don't think we mentioned Kevin Sullivan. Kevin Sullivan passed away, I think, the week prior. And he was sort of more influential behind the scenes. You think about WCW and their role in the 90s. But, really, yeah, obviously, you hate these deaths. I'm sure in the second half of the show, I'll talk a few minutes about Johnny Goudreau. But let's go to current events. Obviously, Sid's a tough blow. I was a Sid fan. I've watched his work, but we're here to talk about current events. And boy, Go Home Show, SmackDown, interesting end. Tiffany Stratton, Bayley returns. Everybody might have been looking at Bayley's BBL, kind of the backside, that back door. Some people might have wanted to look at, not like Allen's a couple of weeks ago with that whole thing with Atomic Titan. I'm sure a lot of people were looking at Bayley's back door. We'll leave that at that. But what did you guys think of the Go Home Show going into tomorrow's show at Bash in Berlin, and any other reactions other than back doors?
I'm going to just start this off by saying SmackDown right now is just extremely mid. I mean, if it doesn't have Roman on the show, it's not touching Raw. Raw right now, like TBK said in the group chat not too long ago, he said, in wrestling terms, I can't wait for Mondays. But in real life, I can't wait for Fridays. But for wrestling, I mean, Monday Night Raw is it's the flagship show. I mean, SmackDown right now, unless they have Roman, doesn't touch Raw at all. I mean, it's watchable. It's better than anything in the 2010s, but it's not Raw.
Anybody have another thought on that? Yes.
Can you fill me in on what we were just talking about?
All we talked about was, what did you think about SmackDown? Your very good friend, the nephew to your newborn child, said that he thought SmackDown was very mid. That's all tonight.
From what I've seen on TikTok, yeah, I agree.
Okay, so certainly we'll move away from that. Yes, Randy. I know
I would
you have
agree
more-
with Alan Michael and Shane Davis. It's like SmackDown right now, it's blah. It's not horrible, it's digestible, but it's like some of the things you're watching, it's like we're seeing the same thing, like another Andrade and Carmella's. Hey, put on a great match, but what's the purpose of having these matches? I think that now they said the score is 2-2. So are they doing a best of
Yeah.
7 or the Cody and Kevin Owens? It just feels something's not right. Then you have Solo coming out saying, "Oh, I'm taking over winning the title." So again, it's just like, okay, this was just kind of a filler, and then Cody's gonna get lost in the Bloodline thing when Roman come back again. The only thing I would say the positives were with SmackDown was LA Knight and Luke and Kaiser. Like, I think Kaiser's really starting to come on his own. He's put on a great match with Orton a few weeks ago, LA Knight. And then I'm interested to see what's going on with Tiffany Stratton, Nia Jax, because you saw that look.
Well, we
from
saw
Nia.
the first maybe stages of that tonight with the briefcase and Bailey's comeback. Okay, that was kind of, yeah, I think we'll have, I'm sure, similar opinions. What about for you, TBK? What'd you think tonight?
Yeah, I'm absolutely with the majority. Like I said, I'm finding myself. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I watched maybe 15 minutes of tonight's show, and then I had a couple buddies over. So, but anyway, like I'm finding myself really getting excited about Mondays. You know, it's like I said, Raw is finally starting to feel like the flagship show again. And I just feel like right now we're in a strange period. We're in a transition period still from, you know, I mean, let's be honest. It's been what, 3-4 months maybe since Mania. Has it been April,
4.
May, June? Yeah, 4 months. So, I mean, it's still relatively all new, but from how impactful that win was, man, you would think that they would just be doing everything they could to make Cody's run as impactful as it can be. And to me, like I said, it's been lame. I'm not interested in it right now. I'm more interested in what's going to happen with Randy Orton down the line. I'm more interested in what's going to happen with John Cena down the line. I'm more interested in what's going to happen with Gunther down the line. And that's bad when your major title holder I don't care about.
Yeah, I think, listen, every show is going to go through their peaks and valleys. Every show is not going to be red hot. I think there's no question that, you know, some of the shows that you've seen recently, you know, you look at this tonight's show with SmackDown. I mean, okay, you got Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. Definitely a good match. I'm not sure where they're going with that. I did think the ending of the main event was pretty good. I did kind of like the main event, kind of Bailey's return, teasing the briefcase. Cody and Kevin Owens, I think I'm kind of in it. And then the rest of the show, you know, it wasn't something to write home about, basically. It's just they played it safe, and you know what you're getting into. You had this segment with Baron Corbin, and, you know, speaking of people turn the channel off, and it was kind of where we were at, more or less.
I mean, honestly, tomorrow, what I'm hoping for is the payoff between Cody and Kevin is not even. And this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not interested in Cody. What I'm hoping the payoff from that match.
I'm gonna mute you, Shane, just because you're eating until you finish eating. So go ahead, TBK. I gotta mute. I can't hear. I gotta, you know, we're live.
It's all good. It's all good. Like I said, what I'm hoping the payoff from that match is not even Cody retaining the belt. I'm really hoping for the Kevin heel turn. Like, I mean,
you had a little bit of a tease of that. Cody talked about, you know, he thought that Kevin was his friend. He talked about the friendships. Then they kind of went into the WrestleMania, Cody's return a few years ago, upstaging Kevin and Stone Cold. Yeah, there was some of that tease a little bit. Yeah, that was good.
And I think I feel like, and I don't know if you guys can agree, but I feel like having Kevin play the role of being like, oh man, I don't deserve it. Why did you pick me? Type thing. When he was a main event guy, he was a main event player. He's been a workhorse for the company. He's been trying to get back into the main event picture. you give it to him and you make him go, no, it's not for
I
me.
just
Come
think
on.
that unfortunately it goes back to a couple weeks ago. Guys like him and AJ Styles, they just don't have that momentum to be drawn back up and be believable at this point. Maybe that's, Kevin Owens has gotten so many chances when Roman Reigns was champion. AJ Styles had so many chances. And when you see these guys and then they're in these spots, they're not believable almost. It's not even maybe in a sense the character's fault. I mean, Alan Michaels, you're in main events all of a sudden now. You're a main event guy, and you've been getting the wins, unlike, let's say, Kevin Owens and AJ Styles. Do you think it's hard for somebody when they were once upon a time a world champion but haven't had that success in a while to all of a sudden get back to that ladder to where they could be a trendsetter like you are and be a player in main events and maybe hold gold like you could as soon as, I don't know, in the next matter of few days?
Yeah, when someone like a Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, the only thing that I'm really excited for is that you're able to see Triple H take these guys like Bronson Reed, who hasn't really been anywhere near a main event scene or a big push. He takes him, brings him back, and makes him this monster who's destroying everybody on Raw. I mean, sometimes you just got to trust in what Triple H has planned. And I can honestly see him building Kevin Owens up to be a top heel on SmackDown, honestly. But as of right now, it's not enjoyable. But, also, Raw has a lot of different storylines.
Oh, you got Drew and Punk.
in.
You got the mixed Terror Twins with Liv Morgan and Dom. You got Randy and Gunther. You got you got the Jey Uso situation. You got some big money storylines in SmackDown. Again, I don't know if it's because the contract is running out. I don't know if that's an issue with that. I just don't know if it's just talent. Like, what do you think, Alan? You're a big player. You know the deal.
I would say that after Mania, it's going to take a little bit longer for them to build the stories on SmackDown because the stories are just kind of built better on Raw. Like, they were built for long-term storytelling on Raw. And SmackDown had its huge, long-term storytelling. So now they're having to build back up. It's going to take them a little bit.
Also, they only had one big story, right? Wasn't it because they had just one big story? One,
yeah,
right?
They had one big story, and they had nothing else.
Raw's got 3. Raw's got 4. I mean, you think about that, right? Does that have something to do with it, you think?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I just don't think – I think SmackDown was really banking on that Bloodline Cody finishing the story. That was the big storyline for them. And it paid off great. I mean, it's arguably one of the best storylines in the past 20 years.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe.
The payoff after that, I feel like if they would have built Solo a lot better prior, they would have been able to really ease into that new threat. But
that's the problem that Cody's faced, right? I mean, all these guys, right? Solo, AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, they're not – not to dismiss them, but they're really not main event caliber compared to Randy Orton on the other side. Randy Orton's got the name, right? He's got the history, the legacy, and you got Seth Rollins in the past, and you got all those big names. Those guys, go ahead.
Also, I mean, SmackDown got Carmelo out of the NXT call-ups, but honestly, why not put Ilya on SmackDown? Give SmackDown something. I mean, they have Carmelo and Andrade and LA Knight. The mid-card's shaping up to be pretty good, but they still don't have those main event players. And if you really want me to be honest with you.
Yeah, be honest, Alan. You did it a couple weeks ago.
I'm going to be honest. I really think, they could have turned LA Knight heel, and they could have made him a really big main event player.
But could you have said that with your hot-shotting it, and then all of a sudden all that momentum and all – the bottom line of merchandise sales go down the tube? It's a big money train, right?
I mean, it just all depends on how you look at it.
You're a big merchandise seller. I mean, I own one of your shirts. You're a huge merchandise seller. You know the deal, right? The gravy train, you lose that gravy train, he turns heel.
100%, but I also feel like LA Knight could really make a heel turn work. I feel like he could still have those insane.
Well, there would have been an angle. Yeah, you know what? I've been here. The fans have been behind me. I've had this movement, but the yes movement hasn't got me it's gotten me stagnant. It's gotten me nowhere. But they put the U.S. title on him, so you kind of squash
yeah.
that.
That's great. I mean, I don't think turning him not heel would have been the best move. But as of right now, I mean, the main event scene on SmackDown is just dry as bones with nobody being a viable contender.
Anybody want to say anything else on that?
I'm
Anybody else have
gonna
an opinion?
add something to Alan Michaels, because I think I said this a few weeks ago. Like, this would have been the perfect opportunity for Logan Paul to face Cody, rather than they did it at the King and Queen the ring back in May when he was the U.S. title. Because he could have came up and said, "Listen, I battled the big people. The U.S. title, I made it more popular than ever. LA Knight beat me with a fluke. I'm on to bigger things," and it would have kept the interest. And Logan Paul could have been an actual thing where people think could he actually win the title because of his popularity and his interest. But the fact with SmackDown is you don't, as you said, same with TBK and Alan Michaels, you don't have those stars to make it believable. Like Kevin Owens, could he do it? Yeah, but I think the build where he kind of like backing off TBK, like, oh, don't pick me, is like.
And also, there's a rumor out there with the contract situation, right? I mean, isn't that not going to put them trigger shy, right? Because he's got a contract situation.
The contract definitely plays in, and then same thing with Alan Michaels said, could Ilya Dragunov come to help the main roster? It just feels SmackDown. I think I said this before. SmackDown's roster, they don't have the depth where they have people going on. Where Raw, you saw what they did with Bronson Reed. Like 1 week he just someone giving a promo, the next week he's destroying people. And all of a sudden he can put him to a top spot, where SmackDown, like, you don't have someone you can just do that all of a sudden. Like Baron Corbin, I think a few years ago could have been that guy you could put in that main event spot, but because he's fallen so down.
He's fallen. I mean, we're talking really far down the totem pole. I mean, it's, he's almost in Xavier Thorne territory. I don't even want to go down that road, but we love Xavier Thorne on this platform. Maybe not. Well, some people love him at home, but I'll move away from that topic because I'm sure that'll really turn into a different discussion. But the point is, I mean, look, it's a bare bones roster, and I guess eventually you're going to go back to Cody and the bloodline. But for now, I mean, Kevin Owens is it the contract situation, or is it just something else? Anything else anybody want to add on that?
I really don't see Kevin going anywhere, honestly. I mean, this guy has said multiple times how grateful he is to be with the company. And I feel like, again, he's one of those loyals, one of those workhorses. I mean, and isn't it crazy if you guys really stop and think about it? Isn't it crazy how we're sitting here saying that there's nothing for a guy like AJ Styles? I mean, at the end of the day, it's still AJ Styles.
Yeah, but he's 40 something, I know he's a legacy name, but he's not a WWE built name. See, that's
very true. But I mean, like, to give him the monster heel turn that they gave him, which was quite believable, by the way. AJ Styles is a good heel. And I mean, if anything, like if I'm the OC at this point, I've got abandonment issues, man. Like, every time they stick AJ back with the OC, he dips on them. Like, those guys, if I were them, I'd be like, look, do something with us, but don't put us with him.
AJ, I mean, I don't know. Is it age? He's in his mid to late 40s. Is that bad? He's not a WWE built guy. I mean, size, he doesn't have the size. I don't know what it is, but I think the rabbit's going down the hole. As for Owens, look, we'll have to find out whether he stays or doesn't stay. I mean, Drew stayed, but Ricochet didn't. I mean, so you really don't know at this point. Anything else anybody want to add on SmackDown before we go into the Bash in Berlin card? One thing
I want to add is, I don't know about you guys thinking about, when we had the Roman running the bloodline, the Usos were a dominant tag team. Like, they were strong, and they proven that. Like, I just don't feel the same way about Tama Tonga and Tama Loa. Like, Tama Tonga has shown he's a dangerous person, but Tonga Loa, like, with all the blunders he's had, like, it doesn't make me feel like these guys, like, should be tag team champions right now. Like, Jacob Fatu definitely had me more believing he could hold the titles himself. But for Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, it just feels like these guys are just putting it just because of that bloodline angle, and it's affecting the whole tag team division, where DIY, maybe they should have got longer reign. You could have given the Street Profits a chance. I just feel like they just have the title because I feel it's also affecting the show that way.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a different bloodline. It's a different machination. No question that those things certainly come into fruition. I think that's obviously, something to digest. I mean, we'll have to see. If you do want to hit the sub button for me, I'm almost at 1,000 subs. You can see it right there. I figured for once, I actually promote the Sportswire YouTube page. We're at 883 subscribers. So my birthday is October 7th. I'd like to get 117 more in the next month plus. So technically just shy of the pace, but if you want to have your friends tell their friends, go hit the sub button for us, and we'll see. 1,000 subs means you can control the platform for a day. So that's that. Let me get to a little bit of comments here. Let me get to our buddy Ron Franklin here. Ron hasn't been here in a while. Tonga Loa is the worst wrestler I've ever seen. How do you botch holding a title?
Here's my thing with Tonga Loa. I mean, do I think he's a great wrestler? No. But him and Tama Tonga have had a bunch of their success in the tag team, division. And honestly, they are a fantastic tag team. I mean, they're an iconic tag team, especially over in Japan. So, I mean, let Tama Tonga get back in his realm, let Tonga Loa get back in their division, and let's see what they can do together.
But
let's before making any predetermined critiques, let's see what this match can hold, because I honestly think Tonga Loa can honestly pull out something that we haven't seen before.
But Alan Michael, do you feel they got the tag team title too soon? They were just handed them rather than showing what actual. Because I do believe you. Like, I think these two are here for a reason with their name. Like, they've proven they can compete, but I feel like they were just handed the tag team title just because of this whole bloodline angle. It wasn't like kind of earned.
Well, yeah, 100%. I mean, it's definitely for the angle. And you also have to think about it. The WWE, as much as Triple H loves his NXT black and gold guys, they're not too high on DIY. There's probably itching to get those titles off of them.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of been their run in the main roster, right? They've been kind of just, unfortunately, they have that NXT curse, right? You hear the NXT curse all too often, and they have that curse almost. I mean, the curse of the Shane Davidson sandwich earlier. I mean, I don't know, but, how was the sandwich, by the way, Shane? How'd you like the sandwich?
Well, it's still here. It's real crispy, I can tell you that.
Oh, wow. Did the missus cook that?
No, me and Alan Michaels actually made them.
Oh, really? Alan Michaels, you cook apparently. Now obviously, when you cook, the back door is closed. Right? You make sure the back door is closed, right?
100%.
And you yes.
I wanted to actually go off topic of SmackDown and go back to Monday Night Raw and talk about it.
I think SmackDown it's a dead horse. Let's talk about Raw. It's a more interesting topic.
I want to talk about the one specific individual that's been standing out a lot here lately, and he's getting a push for I don't know what reason, but Bronson Reed.
We spoke about him a few minutes ago. Yes, sir. What would you like to say about him?
I didn't know y'all spoke about him. I was taking care of my child.
No. We spoke very briefly. It was a very brief mention.
Since it wasn't really talked about much, I want to know y'all's thoughts on the ultimate push that Bronson Reed's getting right now.
Was it almost like the push you were kind of getting in TBW last year when you were bullying Alan Michaels around?
Yeah, I mean that's the past, but
well, I think Bronson Reed, it's you're seeing a character develop. He obviously got a huge boost with Seth Rollins, what he did to R-Truth, and he's a guy that's hung around the peripheral of the mid card, but now you're going to see if he can bring it to the table. We've seen this before. Sometimes WWE has done this with guys. I mean, I think that's kind of where we're at right now. I mean, we'll see where we are in 3 months.
If you mean be like Bronson Reed,
yes,
the heel turn, amazing. It's 100% deserved.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like maybe they should have switched him brands and did the exact same thing. At some point, he would, at some point, be a viable option to face Cody. I mean, because right now, you're not going to see Bronson Reed face Gunther anytime soon.
No, but what he did to Seth Rollins, you don't think that was a big moment right after SummerSlam?
It was, but if you're going to push him to the main event scene, you would have push him in the main event scene of a face champion and not a heel
He
champion.
nearly decapitated Seth Rollins, though, sir.
Yeah, but he's not. They're
He's
not going to
spitting
put
up
two
blood.
heels. They're not going to
He
put
was
two
bleeding.
heels together.
For our truth, we don't even know if he's living still.
I
Yeah,
hope
where
he's
is he?
alive.
That still doesn't defeat the purpose that he's not going to go after a heel champion. Both, if you look at it, every single champion on Monday Night Raw is a heel. Every single champion on SmackDown, besides the tag team champions, is a face. And Nia Jax is a heel too. But every
Yeah,
single
Nia
champion on
Jax is
Raw
a heel, but you know that's going to go down the road probably where she turns sort of face, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Because Tiffany Stratton is going to probably pull something. We're going to see,
So
I'm sure it's going to fruition. Yep.
we're going to see Bronson Reed be a beast probably for the next 2 to 3 months. He's going to destroy everybody. But where do you go?
Just say see where he is in 3. See where he is by Survivor Series, right? Survivor Series is in 3 months from now, just about, right? So that's where you see where he is. If he's done anything, and okay, if he hasn't, then yes, maybe Shane Davidson makes a point. But I'm gonna say he made quite a splash. I mean, figuratively and literally. What does anybody else want to say?
Tsunami.
Well, I mean, the one thing that I absolutely like about Bronson was, I mean, let's be honest, he was absolutely in danger of being yet another big guy who got lost
Almost
in the
right,
shuffle.
almost territory, right? Almost territory.
100%. But the thing that I liked about him was, and I don't know if this resonates, but the thing that I liked about him was when they didn't stick him with a manager type figure, like he didn't need a mouthpiece. That's what set him apart. Not only did he show that he was a threat in the ring, but he was good on the mic. He can talk. I was like, you know what? Maybe they're starting to give this guy his just desserts, and I'm sure he eats a lot of them. But but anyway, but I was like, you know what? Maybe we got something here.
Yeah, I think, look, there's no question that there have been guys that have been pushed and it didn't work out. You know, Commander Aziz, I just saw the other day. I was walking in the morning, and I'll make everybody laugh. He's wrestling now in an independent show, I think, right in Staten Island, and I kind of chuckled. And boy, okay, that's how we've kind of fallen in a sense, because we've gone from WWE to the Warriors of Wrestling, which, again, no shade at the Warriors of Wrestling, but that's obviously he's on from big TV to the independent. He's working his way back up. But, you know, yeah, I mean, listen, Almost is a name that they've tried so hard, it didn't work out. I got a bunch of comments. Let me get to some comments here because there's still some, and I want to get to them here. Yes, Ron, how you doing, Ron? Nice to see you. Zilla's here in her usual spot. Took her a while. Alexander Kelly. Alexander, good to speak with you. I know you obviously had a story on Instagram about not being here on Sportswire, but I definitely am watching you. I definitely appreciate you out there. I think I like some of your posts on Instagram. I think you started school, so I wish you really well in school. And, you know, I hope that everything works out for you in the wrestling world. And, you know, I really am pulling for you. Really am. You're a good kid, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do in the future. My buddy, Mr. Darkron, who I saw in the NEW group chat, I saw him in the ROEW forum. I saw him here earlier today, and I see him here now, and he's a veteran being disrespected by young guys. You know, real quick for a second, Alan, I have to change topic very briefly because I know you're obviously a wrestler in the backyard, and I'm sure you've been hearing this whole thing about these young guys on Sportswire disrespecting some of the veterans like Darkron and Sean Jovi and even Soldier GP and, you know, colleagues of yours. Now, obviously, you're sort of a young guy, but kind of a veteran. What do you think about these young guys, these trampoliners and guys wrestling on the ground, just, you know, disrespecting veterans, some would say, like Sean Jovi and Darkron and even Sinister of all people, Craven Rage, Soldier GP? Like, what do you think about all that?
I've seen some, but I haven't. You have to fill me in just a little bit, real
So
quick.
these guys on the trampoline all of a sudden decided they showed up yesterday on Sportswire and they interrupted Sean Jovi, and they basically said they want to put the nail in the coffin to WCE. They're going after veterans, and, you know, there's this whole thing. They called out WCE and they want to take over the backyard circuit, and they say they want to take over the Midwest. And these guys just, who's no telling what they, I know it's kind of comical, but they're really determined. There's one guy is 6'3" who wants to do this.
You know,
I don't think it'll work in Tennessee, right? I don't think that'll work in Tennessee.
Nah, it wouldn't work.
Not with the
Tennessee.
CBW machine.
Nah. some big dudes for Tennessee too. So
I think
they'd have
Jay Wild. I think the prophet Jay Wild. I mean, you've had your problems with him. Could you imagine Jay Wild with these young whippersnappers who they're calling veterans in the backyard dinosaurs now? They've called them dinosaurs.
Listen, see, I wouldn't disrespect any veteran. You know, they put the time, the work into every
They've
single
earned
day.
that title.
They did.
earned that title.
I think they did. Now, I love our veterans in the backyard. I love all our wrestlers that come. I love everybody that comes on Sportswire. But these young kids, these young whippersnappers, they're so determined that they want to change the backyard circuit as we know it. And there's this fight now between trampoline guys and non-trampoline. It's just, I thought we were done with this stuff. I turned a new cheek on Sportswire. We've been more positive. Alan, they didn't take your advice of positivity and, working with everybody.
For the whole trampoline versus actual wrestling, I mean, it's all wrestling at the end of the
It
day.
is. That's what I say. But these guys are just, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I'm going to move on because I think people now know that they know about it. Did you share a locker room with Jack Spade last year? Right, you shared a locker room with Jack Spade, the icon
We
Jack
did
Spade. Right?
at TPW, yes.
A good man Jack Spade is, and he's here with us. He always calls me the patron saint of the backyard. I have no idea why, but Jack's in the house. I hope he's doing well for us, and hopefully we see him back on Sports by one of these days. Hello to Zilla once again. Got to say hello to, speaking of young people, though, but who've earned the success in the backyard circuit in the underground, one half of our IMF Tag Team Champions. Huge part of Summer Bash, by the way, the shirt that all the guys gave me. Jason Myers got a couple of WWE comments. Let's go over them first. I don't like the fact they took Randy away from the Universal title. And Cody, I feel that would have been better in this moment than leading into Cody versus KO in a better way. What do you guys make of that?
You got to have Cody versus Randy at a Big Four event. You can't have them at Bash in Berlin. Bash Berlin's it's going to be a good event. It's going to be a huge,
Absolutely.
big crowd. But you have to have Randy versus Cody either at a, SummerSlam. You either have to have it at a Big Four, Survivor Series, WrestleMania,
Rumble.
Rumble.
You have to have it somewhere big. You can't have it on just. I'm not going to call it a small, event or PLE, but compared to something like a Rumble, you need to have it on a big stage.
I think
Absolutely.
I think they're saving Randy and Cody because they still don't know what they're doing with Rock for next year's Mania. I don't know if they're going to do Rock for Cody or Rock versus Roman. So that's why I think they're trying to figure out, do we save Randy and Cody for WrestleMania? And we do go with Rock and Roman because then you actually have a story to work with.
Okay. Wisdom, you wanted, yes, Shane Davidson. Yes.
I want to chime in on that. See, the thing is, you also have to think about the fact that John Cena is going to have his last match at WrestleMania.
Well, he's going past WrestleMania. He's going past. He said he's going.
It will be his last WrestleMania, though.
Yeah. So
correct. Yeah.
So you got to also think Randy Orton and John Cena. They're gonna tie everything together at WrestleMania. That's why I'm kind of like on the wit's end on like Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, because you got to think about that John Cena aspect too. Who's John Cena going to face? That's the question.
Well, the
everybody's
person
asking.
who's got the most history, what we talked about already, is Randy. I mean, Edge, but Edge is a different name in another promotion that's dwindling. He's not going to wrestle him, right? So realistically, it's Randy Orton. So yeah, I agree with you on that. Okay, all right. Let me get to some more comments. Appreciate all that. I've been waiting. I think Bronson has that aura, and it's showing. I think they did a good. You don't think they did a good job in building him up? No,
absolutely.
I mean, go ahead, Randy. My bad.
Sorry, Shane. Yeah. So with Bronson Reed, we saw since he returned, it took him a while to find his footing, but I think what he showed is he can work his way in the ring as a big guy. He can, TBK and Al Michael says, he can talk in the mic. It was just getting that right opportunity. I think they knew Seth was hurt. Let's pull the trigger on him and see what happened. The reaction, I think, worked great. And I think they knew this is someone we can work with long term. And we'll see what happens. Like, is he going to take the title from Gunther? Probably not. Braun Breaker? I don't know, but he's kind of. We'll see.
No, it wouldn't make sense for Bronson Reed.
For the next few months, though, I think we'll see more of him develop and become more of a serious contender and a serious threat.
Well, where would you push him? Where do you push him in a feud with?
That's a hard thing. Maybe Punk down the road. He's going to do something with Seth when he returns. Maybe Damian Priest after he finishes up with the Judgment Day and gets his rematch. So you have some options, but
A lot of big guys, right? A lot of big
Yeah.
guys, a lot of decisions. Okay, let me get to a couple of things. Darkron, I knew this was going to be a hot topic. Alan Michaels, all we can do is try to get these guys to get along. We can't make them. Yeah, because there's even this kid, Judas. I don't know if you saw it, Alan. He took the DKW hat and threw it in the garbage on the Sportswire. He basically said that Darkron's an old man, and he basically, he should have passed the torch to him. He felt he was disrespected in ALW. He wrestles on the ground. He's and he was basically near death. He was in ICU and showed up and had an Austin 316 moment in the backyard. He felt that Darkron should have respected him. And I don't want to get into it because it's really like, it's almost like war. We're going war again in the back. I thought we were peace, love, and harmony, and we're not anymore. We're back to it's young versus old, trampoline versus non-trampoline. Guys should pass the torch, and I don't know what it is anymore, Alan. But I'm going to move on because I know obviously in Tennessee they're not worried about that, but they are worried about. So we got that. So what are you looking forward to tomorrow? Let's talk about that. Obviously, we got the mixed tag match. A lot of people are excited about that. Punk and Drew. Everybody's waiting for the payoff. You mentioned Randy and Gunther. Anything else you guys excited about for tomorrow?
I'm honestly more excited for the crowd than I am anything else. I mean, I know that crowd's going to be electric. Gunther, I'm really excited for Gunther and Randy. Two technical, hard-hitting guys. Two big, meaty men slapping meat. Honestly, I mean, that's pretty much
you and Jay Wild have done that a few times already. You know the deal, how that goes.
I do, but honestly, Gunther and Randy's really. I mean, I'm still going to watch the Cody and Kevin match.
Yeah,
I'm still wanting to see what because they're phenomenal wrestlers. They're going to put together a phenomenal match.
Absolutely,
like the wrestling is going to be there. It's just the story, and you might see. I would like to see Kevin turn heel, but honestly, it's not even. We're also coming off SummerSlam, which was a phenomenal, huge success.
Yep.
So they're coming off a huge, like people are calling it almost on par with WrestleMania from this year. Like we're coming off a really big event. It's not. I think a lot of people are going to get disappointed with this event. Like if you're going in with high standards, you're going to get disappointed. If you're going in with low standards, you might be surprised.
Going with low expectations, right? That way you can never get disappointed.
I'm with Alan Michaels. Like the card itself, it seems good. Like I think the strap match is going to be interesting. The Twin Towers versus Judgment Day. It's like you kind of know what to expect. Same with Cody and Kevin, just hoping for that heel turn. But I think Randy and Gunther is one thing that everyone has their eyes on. It's this match because I think it is truly the passing of a torch from the current veteran who's been here doing it all to ensure Gunther, the guy, can carry this company for the next 10 years after.
Okay, good line. Anybody else want to say something before I get to a couple more comments?
Honestly,
jump in, TBK. Go ahead. You got the floor.
You know what? I'm just curious what match is going to be the show stealer, because there are some pretty good storylines that are happening tomorrow, like the Terror Twins and the Judgment Day, Liv and Dom. I mean, you know what? I've been very, very vocal that I didn't understand the whole Cody and KO thing. I still don't get it. But if they put on a good match and it ends up delivering, then I'll shut up. Fine, whatever. Obviously, we're still looking forward to Punk and McIntyre. They've been, this feud has been personal. It's had touch of real personal elements. So I hope they're able to cap it off if they decide to end it here. But that's really what I'm looking at. I'm looking at which match is going to steal the show tomorrow.
See, I'm right with you there, but they're not ending this Punk and McIntyre rivalry here. I mean, in my personal opinion, Punk has to win this, so it'll be 1-1.
Yep.
I think they wrap it all up at Bad Blood in a Hell in a Cell match. Hell in a Cell is the only match to end this feud at Bad Blood. I mean, it's too poetic.
But when is Seth coming back? What's Seth's time?
He's a few months away, but Alan Michael, to your point, is also good as well because each man will only have one pin because they're doing a traditional strap match where they have to hit the four corners. So no one's going to have two pins over each other. So then it adds to that next match. So That's another smart element there.
Okay, all right, clever. Let me get to a couple more comments here. Ethan Sorensen's in the house. Who do you think will win between? What do you think will happen between Randy Orton and Gunther? What do you think? I don't.
It's gonna be brutal. It's gonna be a brutal match. I mean,
Randy Orton's chest is going to be bright red by the end of the night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know what? Like, I think I said it before, and I'll say it again. Gunther is probably pound for pound one of the best that they have right now. This guy is 100% believable. In the ring, he's an absolute friggin' menace. And the fact that, you know, he is getting to mix it up with these guys of Randy Orton's caliber, it's just a testament to how much they really believe in Gunther right now. And I honestly think I think that Gunther's going to retain because he's just been so strong. Like I said, that IC run was incredibly strong. Then to have him win King of the Ring, I think if you for whatever reason if you had him lose, I just think that would not make any sense.
He's
to me
this
right
generation's Kurt Angle. There's definitely in terms of the rise. You know, you think about the longest IC run in history, King of the Ring, beats Priest at SummerSlam, holds the belt. I mean, no question that it's in that meteoric rise. Kurt Angle gets called up to the main roster, and within like a year or so, maybe not even less than a year, wins the world title for the first time. So that's something out there. Let me get to a couple more comments here. I got a bunch of them here. We're gonna talk wrestling for about 20 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes. We'll bring on the regular guys on here. They'll have their thoughts. Rob Maraska will give us, I'm sure, some baseball depth. We'll talk some other team baseball depths, and that's just where it goes. But
I don't know, Randy Dillon getting him a run for his money.
Well, he is going to give him a run. Well, that ABC talked about this. Here in America, that tells you how difficult that thing is to talk about. Our friend Ashley D used to be a wrestler, ring announcer of XCW, who I think is doing a podcast soon. She's talked about doing a podcast for Sportswire, doing a podcast, but not like what we do here. So maybe she'll interview Alan Michaels. Who knows? XCW and TBW in an interview? Boy, that would be weird because we know the sort of frosty relationship, but it's okay because Ashley doesn't work in XCW right now, technically. So that'll be a fun one. But we love XCW. We love TBW here. Yes, Gunther and Randy, hell yes to a Hell in a Cell. Yep, definitely want to see that. I know Darkron would love to have Judas at a Hell in a Cell, and he would love to beat him bright red and also take him back to Marion, Ohio, and what's left of him so Big Man Cam can give him one of those Big Man Cam sandwiches. But let me move on here. I think that Punk versus Drew, but Randy and Gunther are going to be hot. Okay, yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's a pretty fair statement. Speaking of people that are here, your boss, Alan Michaels. I know Mr. Allen was unhappy that I announced the man that you defeated not too long ago, Atomic Titans, back here September 11th. So I know that it's going to be a difficult day in the world, difficult day in TBW because Atomic Titans going to be here live again for the first time in 2 months. I know, Alan, you'll be making sure you have different plans that day. Maybe you and Shane will do a stream on TikTok, but look at that big B word with the fancy headset mic get up blowing smoke, LOL. I think he's talking about you, Alan.
I think he's talking about Shane. My mic's not in view.
I was going to say, that is no way to talk about me.
Okay. Well,
I thought he was talking about me with my fancy headset.
I don't have a headset, but I do have some more comments. Very poetic considering that Hell in a Cell occurred at the first ever Bad Blood event in 2003. Was that the one with
97?
97, yeah.
That's
when Kane.
The 97 was Shawn Michaels Undertaker.
Yeah, and then Kane made his debut. And
it's Kane. That's it.
By God, it's Kane.
Yeah. Well, you won't get any better reaction than that.
No, that was and that's a great way to get somebody in here. I only care about the mixed tag team match. I think there's still. I think Orton and Gunther's got something. I think I think Punk and Drew. I think there are still some good matches on the card.
I think this is going to be a phenomenal wrestling card. I think the wrestling on this match card is going to be phenomenal. You have some of the best wrestlers in the world actually going at it. Randy and Gunther, banger. I mean, that's a banger, right?
Yeah.
Kevin and Cody, banger. The mixed tag team match is going to be a banger. Dom sells his ass off. I love the way Dom sells, and he's going to sell his ass off for Damian.
Are we expecting Terra Twins? Are we expecting Terra Twins to get a convincing win tomorrow?
I'm expecting Rhea to pin Dom after hitting the Riptide. I honestly think that is going to be the end of that match.
No, I honestly think that there's too much build up with Finn Balor still being involved. I think there's going to be the Judgment Day interference to cost Damian and Rhea the match, because I think that it's become quote unquote personal between Damian and Finn, and obviously Rhea and Dom, which I don't know if they could ever do an intergender match, but they should.
Okay, fair enough. Let me get to some more comments here, because I got a bunch of them and I can't find them. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Ethan Sorensen. Always returns when I talk WWE. Thank you, Ethan, for your loyalty. Honesty, Tom Bryce. Yes, that's my name. Thank you for reminding me. I appreciate that. I feel like if Drew McIntyre, well, it's my name. I appreciate you remembering my name. If Drew McIntyre ever wants to get his opportunity for the World Heavyweight Championship, he could win. Well, or you meant he should win. So I guess if you meant he should win, that's the statement. And Mr. Allen wants to say he's talking about Shane. I blame Shane. Okay. Fair enough. That's, you know what? You'd have to ask him that question. I'm not going to get you
have a contract with him.
We got right now a war between trampoline and non-trampoliners in this platform. Trampoliners who want to put veterans and put their nails in the coffin, and it's even made people support Craven Rage for the first time in over a year. I mean, people are behind Craven Rage for the first time. Who would have thought? But that's a different show for a different time. Gunther isn't going to lose in Europe. That match is too predictable. Yeah, I mean, you would think Gunther's not going to lose the first time out. That's a good point. Yes, what do you want to say?
I'm going to add one thing to Ron comment where he's like, it's too predictable. It seemed like a movie. We know the movie is predictable and stuff. We kind of know the ending, but we don't go to watch the ending. We watch to see the magic and happen. And I think what people are excited to watch, what's going to happen between Gunther and Randy. Like, I think obviously Gunther is going to win, but I think the match itself is going to be something we're going to be talking about for a very, very long time.
Good point. I think that's a very, very good point. Okay. Good point. I think I can agree with that. Let me get to a couple more comments. Mr. Crime would like to say, I'm excited for the card, banger after banger after banger. Just like I'm excited about the Backyard Havoc in beautiful Bremen, Ohio, November 9th to November 10th. And of course, so the signature match is right now Darkron and Trey Mystical, who we hope is feeling better, against Matthew Forsaken and the Evil Angel Judas. And the sirens are out where I live, because they heard Judas was coming out and maybe going to interrupt and beat up Darkron. Who knows? Let me get some more comments. And Tom, for God's sake, don't remind me about that again. I'll make sure to have a barf bag on standby. But he's talking about Atomic Titan's return to Sportswire, which we'll have to find out for. I'm expecting Liv to get put through a table. I want it. I need it. Well, you want it for certain reasons, or do you want it because you're a Rhea fan? I don't know if I want to necessarily go into that. We are a family station, but we've heard back doors mentioned, and Bailey's certainly got a big back door, and want to see Liv's get put through a table because she's got a back door. Who knows? Her table wants to be broken. I don't know. Yes.
Ooh. Well, we've all got.
Well, you're a family man, Shane. You're a family man now, so you're good. Oh, I said beat up Dark. Well, yeah, Judas wants to beat up Darkron. I think Judas wants to beat you up. That's why I said the sirens are out and Judas might be coming. But okay, anything else you guys want to talk about here in terms of wrestling before I move to the regular guys here in about 10 or so minutes? Anything else AEW you want to talk about? Anything else all in? Let's talk about it. Okay, let's go.
So how do y'all feel about Ricochet making his debut at All In?
Absolutely.
Because I have my own personal.
Give it to me.
I think going to AEW was probably the worst thing that he could have done for his career, honestly.
Why?
Yep.
Because everyone knows, and this is not a opinion, this is a fact, WWE is the top of the mountain, okay? Why not go to a place like TNA who has a working partnership? And I could see him have some really great matches in the
Well, how about Japan? What about Japan?
Japan as well. Anywhere else but the sinking ship that is AEW.
Well, did you guys in TBW offer him a contract?
Yeah.
That's Josh's decision, right? But
that's
so you didn't like it.
above my
So you
pay
didn't
grade.
like it. Is it because I'm sure guys are going to say this next? Is because everybody makes a big debut there, and then 2 weeks later, they're just yesterday's
Listen,
news.
I'm here. There's two things that I really want to see. The inevitable Ricochet versus Ospreay. Again, I would love to see that on a big stage. That is one thing I'm
Okay,
personally
all
excited
right,
for.
agreed.
And then they have some really athletic guys in that role. I would love to see Ricochet versus Sammy Guevara at least once. I mean, he's going to put on amazing 5-star matches. It's just
no storyline to it, right?
no storyline, and on top of that, the AEW bridge as of right now with the WWE, it's so soiled, and I don't.
With
think
everybody, we talk
back.
about this all the time. I mean, I'm doing this 6 years. I mean, since Punk, really, everybody that goes to AEW, gets lost in the shuffle, right? Everybody. I don't know.
If you're not John Moxley, yeah, you get lost in the shuffle.
But John Moxley's been there since almost the beginning, though. John Moxley.
You had to go in the beginning.
You were right. But if you were pre-Punk, yeah, you were pre-Punk. You're grandfathered in. But who? I guess Danielson, right? But Danielson's right around Punk, maybe just after Punk, right? So, other than Danielson, who's really had a solid or lived up to what they were as a draw? Who in AEW?
No one.
No
one.
Absolutely no one.
I mean, I'm really trying to pull one out. Maybe Christian.
The Christian.
I think Christian came, but he came pre-Punk.
Was he pre-Punk?
He was pre-Punk. Yeah.
Anybody after Punk. Danielson might have just came right after Punk, right? Maybe just after. So after that, right? Who has been
Adam Cole? You could say. I think he was after Punk.
Adam Cole, same time, right beside Danielson, but his injuries really had killed any momentum.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Look at Adam Copeland's been a disaster.
It's pretty much like Alan said. Like as far as Ricochet is concerned, he had no storyline going on in WWE. He was just a 100% filler guy, and then he decided to go to a company that is known for not having storylines. Why? what
maybe the money. I guess maybe the money, less dates.
It has to be
money. It's got to be. Listen, right? Eric Bischoff said it. It's less dates, and the money's probably comparable. Has to be, right? Because Swerve Strickland, isn't he getting a big contract? We know Mercedes got a huge money, a lot of money, right? They're opening up the trunk. Saraya got money when she came in. I mean, the money, It's got to be the money because they're not running house shows there. They're not running. What are they running, right? So realistically, you're going there for what? 4 times a month? Maybe you're doing one every. So you really, for the money you're getting paid? It's got to be. That's got to be the issue, right?
It's the WCW method. Give the guys a short schedule.
I think it's worse because WCW, at least, you were going there and the ratings were higher. There was a track record of success. There was at least a period of time that WCW was in a fight for about 4 years. They fought WWE up until like mid-'99. There was a fight at least for 3.5, 4 years. There's really been no war here. Let's be honest. There's no war between WWE and AEW.
I mean, before WCW became NWO everything, like they still had the stars. They still had the storylines, and then the NWO just
it got watered down. It was too watered down. Everybody
100%.
had to figure out their joining and who was in, who was out. But there's no track record with AEW. It's Punk had some drawing power moments, Sting toward the end. I mean, I don't know. I got a lot of comments. Let me get to them before I know we trend. Let me get to the comments first. Let me get to, just because I want to run. So I got a bunch of them. They're real quick. Okay. Let's see. He's a Rhea fan. Okay, about the whole lifting. That's what I thought. I don't think that's a PG to coin hard truth. Honestly, Tom, I think that Dom and Liv are going to win due to the rest of the Judgment Day getting involved during the match. That's what the Baltimore Kid had to say. In case you know, he's from Baltimore. Lost in the shuffle. I didn't see it, but I don't like it. He could have had some spectacular matches with a bunch of high-risk moves, but I don't see him getting the push that he needs. And Mr. Myers, again, one half of our tag champs. And were you here on All Out for the All Out Warfare? I think you were. Maybe I'll see you again coming up here in a few weeks. Where is Edge? Yeah, well, he's injured. Adam Cole, but I think maybe Adam Cole, but again, injured. Mr. Allen and Mr. Kron, obviously two businessmen talking shop. Agreed, Kron, give me the Ricochet from the independent scene. AEW dropped the ball with Punk. Thanks, scapegoat, as Cornette would say. Jungle, you can fill in the blanks. And does anybody watch a Cornette podcast? Because you thought my shows were long. Cornette even does longer ones than mine. I mean, Anthony's been here for 3.5 hours, and those are long. But Cornette goes 4 hours. He literally I don't know how he stops. Does he just? I don't know. Ashley says, I feel I've missed out on so much WWE. Yeah, well, you catch up here. What really ticks me off is, money pays the bills and everything for wrestlers and everything, but the love of the business has been lost since it's more about the money and the ratings. Yeah, that's what it is. Tony Khan's got endless amounts of cash, and he just throws it. He just throws it at everybody. Yes, Randy.
Sorry.
Sorry, guys. So I just want to mention this about AEW as well. So I don't know if you guys heard about this. Daniel Garcia and Swerve got huge paydays. Now, I can make the argument with Swerve because Swerve has really elevated game, but someone like Daniel Garcia, what has he really done? He's put on some matches, but hasn't been really in the main event. And I know a lot of people are saying, and there was a report saying WWE was not happy that AEW is overpaying these guys. And my thing is this. If you're going to get paid, you better do the work. I see someone like Swerve who's done a lot of work, but Daniel Garcia, what have he done? And then what else it does is over-infatuate the market where some other guy might think, well, I'm going to get paid this much for AEW. W is going to have to overpay to keep them and let some of the younger talent or other.
Although I'll say this, though, WWE, I don't feel bad for WWE if they have to overpay, considering the deals they've got with Netflix, Fox, and USA. Well, now that's NBC still back with them, I don't feel too bad for them. But I agree with you, though.
But let's say Daniel Garcia is making somewhere $3-4 million. And
I don't think anybody in their right mind would think Daniel Garcia is worth $3 or $4 million. Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
Before, when guys like Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Randy Orton, they're making the big dollar. They were actually drawing in AEW.
Well, there was also only WWE. TNA, yes, was around, but they didn't have the money that Tony. I mean, Dixie sort of had money, but they were really. If you listen to what Jeff Jarrett has said in his podcast, they didn't spend to the degree that Tony Khan's spending like there's no tomorrow, and the ratings are getting worse, and there's still no TV deal. I mean, it's the same thing we talk all the time about in this platform.
Final thing, and then Mercedes will make that $10 million contract. The fact is, Charlotte Flair is the highest paid woman in WWE because she draws. She's their best seller. She delivers. Mercedes will make getting that money in AEW. I don't think much has changed.
Well, the hope was that she would draw, and like everybody else, she hasn't because there's no real storyline, which is what we've been talking about the entire night here. AEW is alternate entertainment wrestling. Clever line. Yep.
I mean, I think if you're Ricochet at this point, dude, you're smart, right? If you're out there doing the spots that Ricochet is doing, the spots that he was doing with Logan Paul, the spots that he's known for doing, if you can do less of those and make more, I think that's where he's at this point because he knew that WWE just straight up had nothing for him. So if my incentive is do less of dangerous things and make more money, come on.
Well, I think, listen, there are people going to take the money because, again, they're working less dates and, they don't care. And that's just what it comes down to. And if they want to go back to WWE, as long as they're not bad-mouthing WWE, I'm sure the door's open. AEW is going to destroy Ricochet's career. Same point as Josh. He did better at NXT or Lucha Underground as Prince Puma, which Josh was saying as well. That's why, Ashley, I can't wait till you debut the podcast on Sportswire. We got 90 days, right, or 120, depending on where you ask. Yes, I was here with toddler number 1, who will be here again before our next show. That's the toddler that has been causing a lot of trouble, if I'm not mistaken, right? The same toddler that's been causing a lot of trouble in the backyard circuit. Yes, that's what Sean Jovi referred to them. Boys, strange bedfellows in the world of the backyard. Swerve is someone that went to AEW and done better. Yeah, good one. That's a good one. I still got a lot of comments here. WWE fumbled the bag with Swerve will fumble the ball, but close enough. You got that right, Jason. Boy, Jason and Darkron, two frenemies in Summer Bash, seem to be friends, but with strange bedfellows in the world. Swerve and Lucha Underground, his kill shot was great. Very cinematic, like the way they did tapings. Yeah, I think that's... Look, AEW, I don't really know much more else to say about AEW at this point, you know? And they still have no TV deal. Still no TV deal.
Well, the big thing is what people are thinking how great All In was. All In was great, but when 1 year you do about 89,000 tickets,
57,000, right? It was 53,000, right?
Like that's a big decrease. Like I can understand.
And they're not even going to be in Wembley next year. They're in Texas. So what are they going to draw in Texas? 35,000, 30?
I don't. They can't even drive a full arena in North America for crying out loud. So how
That's what I'm saying. How could you? You could never. AEW could never run house shows. Let's be honest. AEW can't run house shows.
For God's sake, they couldn't even let Sting enjoy his retirement. He already did a run-in. It's like, bro, the man just retired, 3 months ago? Let him chill for a minute.
And
yeah,
the one last thing I will say, I'm sorry, I got to keep talking so much. With Jake Perry, how much they had something so golden to work with. They could not even get that right to make this guy some like epic heel wanting to tear down AEW. They've just made him kind of like oh, I'm a jackass and that's about it. But there's nothing really else to him.
That's because again, there's just I don't know. It's just there's just no follow up. There's no follow through, and that's really what the problem that AEW has. And if you ever do want to catch us, we're actually on sportswireradio.org, which all you have to do is click that listen live button. So you've had podcasts like Randy's has been on here, TBK's, and anybody else that has a podcast. We actually have a bunch of podcasts to play this weekend. We have a bunch of new shows ahead, and I just have to play them because I forgot to play them. But we got about 3 or 4. I didn't forget. We were on today with Anthony Arias, and we didn't get a chance to play them, but we'll play them. But that's the show. Okay, so anything else? Oh, let me get actually one more from Mr. Myers. I appreciate the comments. Hey, I will say Kron isn't someone to sleep on. Neither is Forsaken, but Summer Bash, me and Jordan were the better team, and that's why you guys are one half of the IMF Tag Team Champions. And with Mr. Nets, that's the 2 IMF Tag Champs and one of the pound-for-pound best tag teams in the underground and backyard wrestling circuit, and that's why nobody steps to them. And they are guys who are certainly measuring sticks in the tag teams. Okay, obviously we're getting ready to move on to the second half of the show. Anything else wrestling-wise you want to bring up before we make the hockey line change, as Randy would like to see, I'm sure, in here?
Yes. I really did enjoy seeing Nigel McGuinness make his return to the ring. Desmond Wolfe in TNA, if you watched him.
Yep.
He's a phenomenal wrestler, and it was really good to see him back in the ring.
It's a good line. That's a good line. That's a good one. That's a very good one. Appreciate that. That's a good reference there. Okay, let me take this. Yep. Yes, Randy. Yes.
Looking forward to No Mercy on Sunday because I think the world is finally going to see what TNA can do, as we are going to a big spotlight on Joe Henry, and I think this will maybe showcase some more, really get the world attention thing. How good the talent in TNA, unfortunately, that can't watch.
Oh yeah, I saw Zach Wentz. Zach Wentz won the X Division title tonight.
Yes. I saw that was on X somewhere. Okay, good enough there. And Mr. Kron says that. Okay, I think we're pretty much toward, I think, what you got from wrestling. And also, I wanted to give one more plug, non-wrestling, before I bring on, I think, Rob, Chris, and Justin. If they're awake, we'll stay on. They were supposed to come on, but I guess we'll find out there. But I did want to make sure I give a huge plug to Mr. Myers' sort of frenemy, Mr. Ox McCoy, because I had his matchup here on YouTube. So if you want to check out his YouTube thing, in fact, I would play it, but I don't know if I'm going to get canceled off YouTube. But we'll play that maybe during Thomas McEntee's show, but we'll certainly show that during that tomorrow. But that's his. He had a death match that got 2,000 plus views not too long ago. So that's that. Yeah, we'll leave that for a different time. But good stuff there. And all right, so let's go for now with some closing final thoughts. Anything else, Shane, you want to talk about? Your fatherhood's treating you well before we sign off with you? Anything else is good?
Oh, I just wanted to say that I'm very, very exhausted.
Oh, good. Well.
Yeah, having children isn't for the weak, man. I'm telling you, it's something that you gotta want, and you can't just give up.
that's very good. I'm happy to hear that. That's doing well for you. Doing good. Okay, well, appreciate that. Anything else you want to say, Shane?
Like I've always said before, positivity is the way to go. Always stay positive and always keep your head up.
Yes, that's what we've been trying on Sportswire. Despite this whole battle between trampoline and non-trampoline, these young guys going after the veterans, but we'll make sure.
In my personal opinion, with that's just a bunch of kids wanting their 15 minutes of fame. That's all it is.
So, are they at 14 minutes and 59 seconds?
Their time's coming short.
Okay, well, thank you for letting us know that time is coming up. So we're here with Rob Maraska. We'll be joined with Rob here in a few minutes. Alan, I'm going to give you the floor because TBK went on a break. Anything else you want to say before we move on to the second half of the show? I think I'll keep Randy on for about 5 minutes because I want to open up with Goudreau and we'll let the wrestling guys move on here. But anything else you want to say, Alan, into closing thoughts? I mean, we're looking forward to Summer Bash, and hopefully I get a chance to watch that soon.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to TBW Summer Bash. I will be in the Tri-Star Championship match.
This Summer Bash shirt, I have one, by the way, this one.
It will be a four-way elimination match. I'll be one of the participants. If you haven't already seen the latest episode of TBW, I faced off against Chaotic, got the W, and Chaotic is another member in that match. So me already getting the
and he's wrestled, I think, the most matches in the season, the entire year, and anybody in the roster. He's like the measuring stick of TBW.
Hey, I mean, he is someone not to take lightly, and he's gonna be someone to definitely pay attention to in that match. I definitely have to keep my eye on him, especially with the history I've had with the Prophecy over the past few months.
You've really been having your own problems with them in the last about really 3 or 4 months right now. So yeah, I'm excited for all of it, and excited to talk some football with you soon, and also get back onto your streams, and looking forward to all of it. Hope you enjoy Labor Day weekend. Don't work too hard, and hopefully you come back here next week in one piece.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Thank you, Alan, Mr. Trenson. I'm going to actually put up your banner so people can follow you, and we'll go with TBK. TBK, I'm going to give you the floor. Any closing thoughts you got, and we'll let you have it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you plan on talking any football tonight?
I'm really not really. I next week I'm doing a lot of football. I'm gonna do like a few minutes on it, but I'm gonna do baseball because I got Rob and Chris's new show. So I'm gonna do like a little bit of football, but not a lot. Next week I'm gonna do football. Next week I'm gonna definitely do like 30-40 minutes on football. I'm gonna definitely do football. So if you want to jump in for football next week, absolutely. Cool. Football. I'm gonna preview the season. I don't think I'm going to pick every game yet, but I'm going to definitely get football. And today I might do a few minutes just because I got just Chris and Rob. So I mean, but I'll definitely do I'll definitely do football next week for sure.
Awesome. Real quick,
yes.
Rob, Chris, just want to give some love to the OGs. Good to see you, boys. Glad you're here. And,
good to see you.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate the hell out of you. Anyway, so just real quick, saw an interview recently with Matt Hardy, and he was talking about he was asked if they were thinking about making their return to the WWE. Yep. And somebody in my wrestling chat had said, yeah, but do we really care about the Hardys at this point? And absolutely, of course we care about the Hardys. The Hardys are a main staple. You do not have so many iconic moments without the Hardy Boys. So to allow them to come back, it doesn't have to be anything super duper spectacular, but let them finish out their career. Let them finish out their career with dignity. Give them their Hall of Fame, and I would love to see everything come full circle. Still waiting on any news that we may have of the Lucha Brothers joining WWE, because I would love to see them in there, because like I said, me personally, I am a fan of the Lucha style of wrestling. I think WWE needs that right now just to shake things up. But that's pretty much it for me. Thanks
No,
for
I
having
think
me
the
on.
Hardys is an interesting one. I don't know if it's because they've had an up and down history with WWE. They've been in and out of the company. Sometimes that's a part of it. Politics. Jeff Hardy's had a long documented history with personal issues and
Gotta stay
demons, and I
sober.
don't know if that's that. I mean,
Well,
Matt Hardy's an interesting guy.
That's what
I
I'm
don't know.
saying. I think at this point, if you want to do the Hardys justice, let them have their moment, and for God's sake, just let them go out on top.
Yeah, they really didn't do that with the Dudleys when the Dudleys came back years ago. The Dudleys had to run, and I don't know, WWE. I don't know. I don't know if it's because they left the company. Guys leave and in and out. Jeff Hardy's had a lot of personal demons. I mean, well documented. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I agree. This is like where you could get a good year or two out of them. This is probably the run, but we'll have to find out. But definitely looking for. Yeah, definitely want to do some football because I got to do the Johnny Gaudreau thing. I got to spend a few minutes on that. I got a package actually. Maybe I should open the package up. But you know what? Actually, I'll tell you what. We're gonna keep everybody here. We're going to open this package. Better be good. Now, this package, I posted on X about this here. So let's do this here. We'll stay here with this for a minute. This was a package which I think might be the end of Sportswire Radio. So maybe one of you guys will be the lucky one.
Don't open it.
Maybe I'm getting this because, I posted on Facebook last week. I've had like these random incidents. Like I run into these kids and they go like this. And I had one guy in the 7-Eleven. I thought we had to call the police. And I'm thinking, okay, these kids sent this. They've been so tired. They just don't like me or whatever. I have one other kid on Forest Avenue, yelling at him in the street. So maybe this is related to they found out where I live and they've given me something to blow me up. Maybe this is where one of you guys are going to listen. Sportswire's got almost 1,000 subscribers. So which means when you get to 1,000, you're going to get the monetization. So congratulations. You got a lotto ticket. So I'll tell you what, I'll open you up. What do you want to say?
Yeah. No, on second thought, open it up.
Open this package up.
Get ready for a disappointment.
Well, maybe it won't be. Who knows? But okay, we're going to open this up. Let's see. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so I got it here. Okay, there we go. Let's see. There we go.
Hey, let me ask you something, guys. Does Backyard Wrestling, do they have that championship belt that WWE used to have where, what was it, the 24-hour? Not the 24-hour, the
24/7.
Yeah. Like, so
That
they could.
depends on the Fed you're in.
Yeah, CBW personally doesn't have a title like that.
So maybe they think Tom has a belt like that and they're trying to challenge him for it.
You know what? There's a lot of
just
things
saying.
that people think. But I guess I got this package. It seems like doesn't smell like anthrax. It doesn't smell like a
Check it.
So
You
Check
be
the
the
powder
first to
that's in
know.
there.
it's a cup. It's a top cup holder here. Rob Maraska, the contest man, has given us a cup holder. Is it because
I thought it was a cup.
It's a cup holder. Rob Maraska with a cup holder here with a spider on there. Boy, do you want me to get like a spider? Thank you, Rob, for giving
I
me
wonder how that got in there.
Well, I have a spider in there. Thank you very much. I guess you want me to be bit by
Spiders are good luck. Don't worry about it.
I appreciate all of that there. Okay, well, I appreciate
Not
that.
when you
Rob.
have arachnophobia.
Well, I don't actually, but I have other things to worry about, But thank you, Randy's frozen because he's so elated to see that. But yeah, thank you for that. But yeah, to answer your question before I let these guys move off, Backyard Wrestling. There's so many companies and so many feds that they have endless championships, and it depends where you go. This platform's actually involved in a couple of big things: Summer Bash, Riot in the Ring, All Wrestling Matters, Hardcore Tournament, the Backyard Havoc, the Backyard Brawl. So we have actually a championship in some of those belts. I actually sponsored sort of and own a portion of. So we have some of that. But yeah, listen, there is hardcore titles. Actually, Alan's company just retired a hardcore championship, which Alan was very happy about because it's giving him a title shot now. But that was a good question. I do love the backyard questions because we get a lot of them. This is obviously really the home of that. But I could talk about backyard wrestling all day, but I want to talk about some sports. I want to let the wrestling guys move off. TBK, I'm going to see you right next week. We're good for next week?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for that. Shane Davidson, you got to go change diapers. I'll see you. Alan Michaels, you got to go ready to eat Raisin Canes and maybe go somewhere else in the ring. Thank you, Alan. I'm going to let you go. And we're going to take these guys off the screen. Am I missing somebody else? No. Okay. I'm going to keep you here for a few minutes because I do want to talk about the news that absolutely devastating. I mean, Johnny Gaudreau you're a hockey guy. Obviously, you host the Hockey Fan Chat for us, and just wanted to get a few minutes on that and just your thoughts on the impact of Johnny Gaudreau, who lost his life tragically. I mean, I don't even want to talk about it, but Rob Maraska's Grim Reaper show continues in a sense. But yeah, I know we're laughing, but not laughing really. Trust me, we're not laughing at it, but it's not. But we understand. But he passes away at the age of 31. And Randy, what do you want to say?
It's heart-shattering news. Like living in Calgary, I got to see Johnny Gaudreau play the first number of years of his career in Calgary and how much he just meant to the community, the city. And I know in Calgary earlier today, people brought flowers to the arena just paying tribute to him. He is such a great player. Like, I know he wasn't doing great things in Columbus with his performance, but you saw him how he played before, how amazing.
Oh, a couple years ago, he was right at the top of the league in scoring, if I recall correctly.
And exactly. It is just such a tragic loss, not only for the world, but for the NHL life, like how everyone is gone and stuff, how he's gone and stuff. And it's just heart shattering. Like, and not just heartbreaking, just shattering.
Yeah,
only 31. Sean Monahan was going to Columbus to play with Johnny Gaudreau. They were good friends throughout Calgary. His sister's wedding was today. I don't know if that even went through. Him and his brother. It just
and then the baby, right? The brother's wife is pregnant. I read, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it just a huge loss. And like I know, like it was by a drunk driving accident. Like, I know this is a little bit off. Just people, please just don't drink and drive.
You know, I think Chris said it in the group chat on Twitter. I don't even know why these people can't they just take an Uber? I mean, I don't understand why do they have to. It's 2024. I just don't understand why they make these decisions. I just don't understand it. And terrible. It would be terrible regardless if somebody wasn't the stature of Johnny Gaudreau. I never understand this. I don't get it. I don't.
100%. Yeah.
You guys want to say anything else on it?
Yeah.
Anything else
It's horrible. It's selfish people. That's what it is. Selfish, stupid people.
A lot of a-holes in the world. A lot of a-holes in the world.
Does not care about anyone by himself, because he was in court today and the judge says, well, it's a holiday, so you're going to be here till next week. And he said, well, you mean I have to stay until Thursday? This is what this idiot is worried about, getting home. Hopefully you're not going home for a long time.
Well, I definitely hope he ain't going home. But just terrible. I mean, just for the hockey fans,
hope the guy gets like 2 life sentences.
Yeah,
for what he did. I think the the whole country has to get tougher on drunk driving.
Yeah, I don't understand why we have Ubers, we have Lyfts, we have all these things.
Don't have taxis. So it's like,
yeah, I just don't understand. It's so easy, but it's so easy even now. Everybody has a
$20 to take an Uber.
That's what I listen. Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't understand that you have a phone now to just tap it in and they get right to your location. Why do people need to go out and do these things? I just don't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And they're never the ones who get killed or get hurt.
No.
It's always the other people they hit. They, for the most part, nothing, it's ridiculous. And I'm with Chris, we got to get stricter with these damn drunk driving laws.
I mean, you'd think in 2024 that would be the case. But again, I don't know. Let me ask you one question, though, Randy. I will let you run after this because I want to get to the guys. I want to promote the baseball show, and we'll do some football next week. But I want to get into their show, and congratulations, guys. I got a chance to listen to it a bunch of times. But what's the impact to A, Randy, on the league, and B, on this Columbus Blue Jackets team, which is already a team that's, again, is going through a rebuild, and he's, again, a guy you put a lot of money into. But what's the impact you think on the league and also just this Columbus Blue Jackets team? I mean, I hate to ask this, but I kind of have to.
I think for the league, it's going to be huge dramatic because Johnny Gaudreau, with all the relationship he built, like there are players all across he played with in college hockey, former teammate Matthew Tkachuk was now in Florida. Like so many people are just affected because you're losing a true star of the game and an ambassador of the game. Like, people look at Johnny Gaudreau, not the biggest guy, so it showed anyone, listen, if you're willing to work for it, you can get the league. And for Columbus, it's just gonna, I don't know, it's gonna put a huge hole in their lineup. They're gonna really suffer because they just traded Patrick Laine. Like, where their offense gonna, as an offensive part, where their offense gonna come from now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
And the face of their organization. He was supposed to be the face, sell their tickets. He's gone now. Like, it's a huge effect.
Well, I mean, I guess the hope would be maybe they'll sell tickets in, his memory. But yeah, I mean, no question that just a terrible loss, and for the world, really, for the sports world. Local guy here, from Jersey, definitely is, been a guy who's been an elite player. I mean, a very, very elite player in, certain seasons. And again, Columbus has had a major rebuild, and it's going to certainly, I'm sure, impact them. And just horrible. I just really can't even speak. Neil Villapiano, our buddy, did a podcast on this. He did a nice little tribute to Johnny Gaudreau. We'll be playing it throughout the weekend, but I'm sure you're going to talk about this in the coming weeks. Just horrible for Blue Jackets fans. Have you done a show with a Blue Jackets fan? I'm trying to think.
I'm looking. I would love to do a show with a Blue Jacket fan.
Well, I hope they would want to talk. Maybe they won't want to talk now because of the sad news. But just I saw on X today, the Calgary fans, very touching that they had a nice little memorial for.
He meant so much to that city, like, because they lost. Jerome McGinley was just traded a few years. They really haven't seen a star, like, if they didn't know who was going to be the next face of this team, and he really stepped. Like, his performance is what really took the Flames from a team that did a rebuild to a team a competitive team, not like a cup contender.
Oh, very good. They were a very good team in the regular season. Just couldn't quite put it together in the postseason. But he was a huge part of that. They had some really good teams, exciting, and just unfortunately, we'll never get to see what could have been. For him, could have been a guy that maybe you would have eventually seen in the Hall of Fame. Had a point a game pace, but sad stuff. Anything else you want to say, Randy, before we bid you adieu for now?
Say that's how the last thing I'm just going to say before signing off. Just tell your loved ones you love them, because with today, what happened with Johnny Gaudreau, life is just so precious. So just tell your loved ones out there.
Absolutely, we just take life for granted. You just think about. Just his death, just one of the worst ones. I mean, I was around when Kobe Bryant passed away in the plane crash. I did a show with a guy who played in the NFL and camp a couple times. That was a sad one, but this is like, I don't even know where to begin. This is just, this is up par with Daryl Kyle years ago, died in a plane crash, if I'm not mistaken. Roy Halladay, a lot of guys that you look at these deaths and just, I don't know. But Randy, very good stuff. We'll end on a positive note. We had a great show. Had a great turnout. A lot of people tuned in. Great comments. And we'll continue the momentum next Friday. And do you guys celebrate Labor Day in Canada?
Yes, we do. We got Labor Day in Canada as well.
Good. So hopefully you enjoy. Hopefully you're doing no labor on Monday. And we'll give you some labor to do next Friday on Sportzwire Radio. How does that sound?
Sounds great, Tom. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Love you, Randy. We'll see you soon. That was Randy Dillon. I'm going to go like this because I don't like the big screen with the three. There we go. Okay. So that obviously was that. We give our thoughts and prayers to the family, certainly, again, of Johnny Gaudreau. Just a horrible loss. But, gentlemen, I guess I'm going to stick to baseball, really, because I don't really have anybody else here. And we'll let maybe TBK riff on football next Monday. Friday, I should say. It could be Monday, but obviously you guys have a podcast. Really enjoyed the podcast a lot, and I guess I'll start off first with the New York Mets and Rob Moroska, because I had it on the background. This Chicago White Sox team, 31 and 105. Rob Moroska, it's been an interesting last week for the New York Mets. The New York Mets have actually, they had a 10-game strip. Well, you think about it, right? Baltimore, San Diego, and Arizona. And they were 6-4 in it, but didn't gain ground. If I'm not mistaken, they lost ground in it, and they had a hell of a run. But maybe they've won a lotto ticket here against the Chicago White Sox, because they should get a sweep here. But this Chicago White Sox team is absolutely horrendous. Mets get a win here, and just watching this White Sox team, Rob, the Mets better walk away with this sweep here. What do you think?
Oh yeah, they better. It's like a gift. Chicago White Sox, we want to see them lose because we want to see them take over the worst baseball team in modern history.
I think they're going to do that. I don't think there's any question about it with this team right now.
So the 2024 Mets could do the 1962 Mets a favor by sweeping the White Sox. Hey, listen, the White Sox scored early, and then that was it. They scored one run, and boom, that's it. The Mets scored just enough runs to win. But the thing tonight is that Diaz came in for the third straight night. 2 nights ago, he blew that game in Arizona. And
how about Sunday's game? The Mets had that one too and lost that. I mean, how many games has this team lost with the bullpen? I mean, we'll get the Yankee story in a second, but I mean, if we look back on this Mets season, and if the Mets don't make the playoffs, you got to point out to this bullpen.
Oh, definitely the bullpen. But I have to say, and I was down on Diaz 2 nights ago, but he came back against Arizona mad, and he blew them away in the 9th inning. And tonight, the same thing with the White
Mets got a big Iglesias comes through, and you're thinking, okay, you lost momentum, but this team's been, you got to give them that. They've gone 7-4 in this 11-game, really important stretch here. You're counting the White Sox game. You beat 2 out of 3 from Baltimore. You go out and split the Padres. Should have had 3 out of 4. And then with the D-backs, I mean, you get 2 out of 3. Those two teams, the Padres and D-backs especially, have been red hot right now. So if you look at it, you got to be happy. It's just the Braves, unfortunately, I mean, they've just been red hot in their own right. And arguably, we got a favor from them yesterday because they blew a 4-0 lead. But this Mets team, I mean, it may very well come down to the fact that they're going to have to go. They may even have to sweep in Atlanta because right now they're 3 back and you're running out of time.
Yeah, well, they may have to sweep in Atlanta. But you know what? This is like me and Chris were talking about on our show.
Yes.
This is what Major League Baseball wanted. It's going down to the wire, and it makes
it's going to it, but not as much as it looked like a few months ago. There's a lot of things. I mean, the Yankees in Baltimore are definitely going to go to the wire. I think the NL West is shaping up to the wire, the Central's to the wire, but these wild cards, not so much right now.
Oh, I don't know. It looks like all of a sudden the Cubs, and we wrote them off on Monday on our show. All of a sudden the Cubs are starting to win. And
the Cubs have come back here. They finally the Cubs have played really well lately. They've kind of struggled all year at times, but maybe they're getting hot at the right time.
Yeah, who knows? And Kansas City lost a couple of games. So Cleveland, I think, I don't know.
2.5. 2.5.
Okay, so
yeah.
I still think I like the Royals. I really do think they're playing good baseball. So
Royals had an injury. I think potential injury yet. I think Thursday's game, if I'm not mistaken, they've got 3 guys with 90+ RBIs. Obviously, Witt 28 homers, 27 steals, and their starting pitchers. I think 4 guys with an ERA of 3.5 or less. That's really what's carried Kansas City there.
But they lost Pasquantino.
That's what I was referring to there. Yeah. They had an injury there. That's a big loss for them. It was one of those players with 90 RBIs or more on their team.
Hey, he's had a really good season this year.
Yeah,
Kansas City was one of the biggest surprises in baseball. I mean, who would have guessed the Kansas City Royals, would have been 14+ games over 500 and, relatively speaking, comfortable in the playoffs. But yeah, Cubs are right there behind the Mets. They're 5 back, I think, of Atlanta. They're there. Cubs, again, have not quite put it together, but you're there. You're getting hot at the right time. You've got, again, the Padres and Diamondbacks kind of fighting it out. The Dodgers have got a little bit of more ground that they've kind of solidified. Phillies have kind of walked through most of it. You've got, again, the Astros and Mariners. I think Houston's kind of in the edge, but Mets get a win. Okay. But Chris, Yankees have kind of had an up and down week, but Baltimore is just, I don't know. I'm listening to the radio today, and maybe this is the summary of the Orioles at the moment, is that the Orioles are a great regular season team, but with some of the flaws that they have, maybe that they're going to wind up, again, being a team that's going to have an early exit in October, and the Yankees are going to win this division. But Baltimore, it's the story about them and their downfall. What do you think about some of those things? I'm going to definitely talk about Judge for sure in a second.
Yeah, I think with the Orioles, their biggest problem is pitching. Their starting pitching, basically their whole rotation is on the IL right now. Their bullpen was weak to begin with because they didn't have their closer.
They've been using the same problem what the Mets have had.
Yeah. And they went in the season without their closer, right? Yep. Bautista's been out all season, and Kimbrel's not even closing games anymore. So now they got the guy from the Phillies that they traded for at the deadline. He's been closing games. That's not going to last long.
Didn't he blow a game or two also recently, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah.
I was listening to it on the radio that
he did get the save tonight, but it was in Colorado. So
You got to sweep
not
in
to get
Colorado.
crazy
You
about
know,
it.
I know
Yeah.
Colorado plays well against 500 teams or better, but you're Baltimore. You're a game and a half back. You got to sweep. You got to sweep this series. At this
Absolutely.
point, you're running out of games in the calendar. You got to do that. Before I do anything else, David Roska, he is here. David, I hope you hit the sub button for us. And we're at Sportswire Radio 6579, and we're almost at 1,000 subscribers. So I'd like you, if you're here for the first time, to go hit that sub button for us, because you see it here right now. Hit that sub button for me, because I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs. And if you like Sportswire, you want me here full time, that's how you're going to get me here. So go hit that 1,000 sub button for me. I'd really appreciate that, because we'll talk baseball every Friday night with these guys. And they're the host of the New York Baseball Talk. They're here Mondays, sportswireradio.org via the Listen Live button. So make sure you hit the sub button for us there. But okay, I'll take this off the screen for a minute. But yeah, I mean, you know, I guess we'll see there. But how you feeling about these Yankees, Chris? And, you know, boy, Judge, I mean, we're watching something. I know you guys were talking about it on the baseball show, but, I mean, is he just having the greatest season, not counting Bonds in a lifetime, or what?
Oh, yeah. No, when you take away all the steroid guys, you know, this guy's having one of the greatest seasons ever, right?
Yep.
So it's pretty amazing to watch between him and Soto, just going back and forth. They're just having such great seasons together. And you just want to see the rest of that lineup just hit their average season, not have great seasons, just be themselves, you know, hit to the back of their baseball cards, basically. Yep. And it would be a great lineup, you know, but you see, you know, games like we had before where they're just not hitting. And if Soto and Judge don't hit, then the rest of the team don't hit. But tonight it was kind of the opposite.
So what do you think that means for October? You know, Baltimore's flaw we talked about is the pitching. So what does that mean in a short series? You know, if you don't, you know, Judge and Soto don't hit, or you pitch around to them, what does that mean for the short series coming up next month? What do you think that means?
I personally think, and we kind of talked about it a little bit too, I think when the playoffs start, that's when you're going to see these pitchers pitch around Judge, because then, you know, games are much tighter, obviously, in the playoffs. You know, the pitching is magnified, everything else. But I think you're going to see the pitchers pitch around Judge more until the guys behind him start proving, you know, otherwise, right? I'd rather lose to Austin Wells. I'd rather him beat me. Or
Bobby and Donald on their show have been talking about that.
So it's going to be interesting because, listen, Judge has not had a big postseason yet in his career.
No.
He's got to do it because he's got to have that World Series championship with him. You know, to be, listen.
Well, that's interesting. You said that. Do you guys both feel that way, that they have to have that for the team, that Judge Soto's a free agent? So we know, obviously, he's magnified by this. But certainly for Judge, he's the captain. He's put in a lot of money. You've invested into him. But, you know, you want to obviously be a guy that goes to a World Series. And we know it's well documented that this Yankees team has not been to the World Series, let alone win one, since 2009. The Yankees aren't used to this. They've had the success, unlike, let's say, in the 80s, where they didn't have any trips to the postseason. But this Yankees team, especially with Judge as the captain for this generation, you gotta get to a World Series and win it, right?
Absolutely, 100%. Listen, he's still going to be, you know, his 99 still going to be retired by the end of this year.
There's no question about that. He's getting the 50-plus home runs as many times as he's done it.
Yeah, is he going to be in the Don Mattingly category, right? With the captain that, you know, great Yankee, you know, loved by everybody,
but didn't get to the World Series, or is he going to be postseason? Yeah,
right. Or is he going to be in that upper level, you know, with Jeter and all those guys that have
last weekend we saw the 2009 team being honored, right? And that's the last Yankees team to have been to a World Series. Now, again, the Yankees have been to the playoffs a lot, but they haven't been to a World Series. And you think about it, I don't know if this Yankees team is built for that. It's been the record's good, but it's been so up and down.
You could say that about every team in the league this year.
There's no dominant team this year. The Phillies.
Every team has flaws. Every team
have basically played like the Orioles have played the last 3 months. The Dodgers, up until recently, have been that way. You know, Milwaukee's been as the biggest lead of anybody, but does people believe in Milwaukee?
Right.
You know, Houston's probably been the best team the last 3 months, but does Houston say, okay, they're the team? You know, Cleveland's had the lead, I think, for 150 something days, almost the entire season, but Cleveland's been a major surprise. And then you've got this Yankees team that's got questions. I mean, What do you
Every
think
team
on
has
all
questions.
this?
Every
What do you
team.
think on
That's
this,
why.
Rob? Go ahead, jump
That's
in.
why I think when you put any team in every team in the playoffs is going to have basically an equal shot at getting to the World Series because every team is flawed this year. There's going to be no
No great
100
team
wins.
this year. There's no last year. The Dodgers, the Braves,
Yeah,
they were the
you're not
teams
going to
that
see
ran away
100
with
wins
everything.
game.
Baltimore, 100+ wins. Tampa had the amazing
Yeah,
start.
you're not going to see that this year.
No.
This year, it's a lot of good teams with flaws getting to the
Yeah, I don't
playoffs,
even
and then
think-
it's going to be wide open.
I don't know. I mean, maybe the Dodgers, you'd say pound for pound, maybe have the best team, but their playoff track record
Right, it's not
is
good.
what it is too. What
Their
do you
only
think
World
of all
Series was the the COVID year.
Yep.
and
Right.
Atlanta's had the same track record other than 21. What do you think on all this, Rob? Judge, does he have to get to a World Series this year? I mean, does his legacy kind of judged upon this, basically pun intended, or what do you think on all that?
Yeah, well, I think he has to. He has to play in a World Series, and he has time. Like Chris said, there's not one team this year. It's amazing. So it's going to be the team that gets hot in the playoffs, in the postseason. It's going to be that one team that all of a sudden, just clicks and they're on fire, and that's what's going to happen because it's just this is like a rare year. You thought, well, maybe Baltimore, but then Baltimore stopped.
Well, I mean, the Yankees in Baltimore, the first 2 months of the season were looking like they were going to win 100+ games. They've cooled off, obviously. The Dodgers had everybody and their mother on their lineup. And, up until recently, again, they've kind of sleptwalked through the season. The Phillies had the hot start in the National League. They've cooled off. Atlanta's had a bunch of injuries. They are where they are. Cleveland, nobody's really saying, oh, my God. And Houston's right there again. They've made some moves. Houston's got the track record. But, again, Houston, this is not the same Houston team that's won a World Series or been to a bunch of them. So, I don't know. I do want to get to a couple of comments. First of all, that's Rob's ex. Go follow him on X. I'm going to put Chris's up in a second so you can get in touch with the guys. They are the host of the New York Baseball Talk, and really enjoyed that. We have a nice little 1-2 combo on sportswireradio.org via the Listen Live button. Like with the Pinstripe Chronicles, you'll be hearing them throughout the weekend, or when I remember. Well, actually, you're in the rotation. Bobby's new show isn't, but we've got his old show still in the rotation. Maria DeFalco is here. Maria, hopefully you're not related. Are you related to Robert DeFalco, the well-known realtor? If that's the case, I would say follow us anyway on Sportswire Radio. Go hit the sub button for us. Please do. We're almost trying to get to 1,000 subs, which would really help everybody here. So thank you for that. Joe Dell is in the house, the legendary Joe Dell. Joe, I hope you're doing well. Yes, new show is great. Definitely like this show more than the Talking Rivals, I have to admit already, but we did love.
Thank you.
Yes, no, I love the Talking Rivals, but this show's got a little bit more energy. It's a better 1-2 fit with the Pinstripe Chronicles. Zilla's got a wrestling talk, but Zilla, wrestling ended 30 minutes ago, so I'm going to stick with baseball. We appreciate that. I'll come back. There's plenty of wrestling talk on Sportswire. See you when you want on that. But, okay, so I got that Yankee side. I got Mets side. I mean, let me go first back in terms of anything in the American League strike you in terms of other than outside of what I talked about in the Yankees and Baltimore for both you guys?
Just that it seems like every week a different team gets hot and we see, this might like Rob mentioned Kansas City this week, right? Like They swept Cleveland, or they took 3-4 against Cleveland.
They were up actually against Cleveland, and Cleveland came back late.
Right. And then Kansas City just recently lost 3 straight.
Yep.
So it's like it's an up and down season for just about every team. So
I mean, Houston, how about we talked about early in the season, is Houston done? And Houston's got a 4.5 game lead over Seattle. Seattle was in first place for about, I think, the first 3 months of the season, and they just fired their manager. I mean,
listen, I look at Houston as, if you remember, like, it wasn't that long ago, obviously, though, with the Patriots every year, right? Every single year, you could not count that team out, right? You couldn't count them out. And I think that's with the Astros. The Astros have too many guys on their team that have been there, done that, come up big in the big spot. So,
yeah, I mean, you could say they've got,
but I'm not going to count them out either.
I mean, this would be their 9th postseason in 10 years. So they've got,
that would be nuts.
Yeah, the Patriots. Well, especially in baseball, to be 9 postseason in 10 years. I mean, crazy. That's the Dodgers. I think are the other team that is. I think
to the ALCS, no less. 8 times,
Yeah.
right? In 9 years.
Yeah, I think this would be the 9th in 10 years because I think it was 15. They were in the 15 was DS, so it's 8 out of 9. 8 out of 9 practically.
It's crazy
So,
when you think about it.
Yeah, and with Houston and Seattle, as we've seen, Seattle, excellent pitching staff, no hitting, and you cannot. There's no way with Houston in that division that they're gonna take that. There's no way. So I saw it coming. They're pitching excellent, but me and Chris talked about it. The hitting is just, there's no hitting.
So Houston. So then, are you telling me going into now the last 4 weeks of the regular season? Now we're at that final quarter mark of the season. Labor Day weekend is upon us. It's the final 4 weeks of the season. You mean to tell me that Houston, as much as it pains people, they're the team that probably is positioned to maybe once again represent the American League in the World Series, or it's?
Well, I don't know about the American League. I'm just talking about that division right now. I mean,
but you know what though? Every team's flawed, right? We agree every team is flawed this year, right? We agree every team's had problems, but Houston's the team that's probably had the most consistent run the past 3.5 months, right? They were 9 games back, 10 games back early in the year, just like Kansas City was. But Houston has got the pedigree, and Houston, all they have to do, right, because they've got the track record, all they have to do is get into the postseason. Isn't that what I'm hearing?
Well, listen, every team. You're talking about every team, but I think to what you're trying to say though is if Houston does get in the playoffs, and they obviously most likely will. That they have the pedigree to do well in the playoffs.
Like the Chiefs in football now, right? We talk about the Chiefs.
Right, Kansas City last year, right? The Chiefs. Nobody was really talking about the Chiefs.
They had a down year, and they got in, and they won a couple games on the road, and, everybody was looking at Taylor. Taylor kisses Travis, and, they win the Super Bowl. I mean,
Right. It's going to – I mean – it wouldn't shock me if Houston, I hope not, and I'm praying that they don't.
Well, but I think for us here on Sportzwire, because we have the New York baseball show and the Pinstripe Chronicles, it's good for business to have the Yankees, return to the World Series. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but outside of Houston, I mean, I could see any of these teams making a run. As crazy as that sounds, I could see Kansas City. I could see the Yankees, Baltimore, because all these teams have flaws, but they've shown that they've gone on runs before. So if any of these teams get hot at the right time, and we've seen it last year. Arizona, nobody had Arizona and Texas in the World Series.
You could even make the case that the Yankees have Cole. They have the ace. They've got that in a short series. You got the ace. You're going to get them twice in a short series, right? That's why you winning that division is so big for the Yankees to win the AL East. And I think the Yankees in Baltimore have one more series coming up in September, right? There's one more series with the Yankees in Baltimore. And
next to last series.
Which is similar to what I was going to say next in the National League. So in the National League, is there one team that you say, okay, they're the favorite, or is it more complicated in the National League? Milwaukee got a 10-game lead. Who would have thought that Milwaukee Brewers traded Corbin Burns? They traded guys away.
Yeah.
Nobody thought the Milwaukee Brewers would be 10 games up clear on the Chicago Cubs. And then you've got, so like, what do you think in the National? Is it more complicated or what?
Like, we could say the same thing as you were saying with Houston, with the Dodgers. The Braves, I don't know, with all the injuries, although, injuries
they got
are not
Sale's back with them. Sale's had some big starts for them. He's been a huge...
Probably a Cy Young this year.
I was going to say, that was my next point.
So, anything, in the National League, anything could happen. I just think this year in baseball, anything could happen. Like anyone, like I said before, anyone who gets hot in the playoffs.
I tell you what, and I wouldn't want to play. I know we got some comments, but I wouldn't want to play San Diego or Arizona in a short series, right? Those teams?
No, definitely not. No, San Diego's got the pitching too.
Yeah, right? San Diego, I mean, and that's a team that's retooled and they're back. I mean, that's a team that, again, everybody thought last year was going to be a World Series favorite, but they had a disappointing season largely, got eliminated, at the end of the season. They got hot, but, they retooled their team, changed managers, and they had the season they should have had last year. And then you got Arizona, which got off to, kind of a largely underwhelming start, but they've been, since the All-Star break, the team that people thought, and I wouldn't want to face them in a short series, right?
No, and
definitely not.
with San Diego, Manny's getting hot all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to watch out for that.
So, I got to say, and Joe Dell wants to say a funny line. I wish Taylor would kiss Rob Maraska. I don't know if Taylor's kissing Rob Maraska. I don't think Rosalie would like that very much. I think Rob wants to, he's appreciative of his relationship.
No, listen. Yeah. My cousin.
I think Rob's happy with Rosalie. I think we're going to move on. This is in the backyard wrestling talk. Yeah, do that with those guys. These are, happily married.
We're not interested in billionaire.
And when we talk with the backyard guys, that's a different conversation. These guys are more professional. They're sports reporters. When you talk with me on the wrestling shows, the rest of us, we're like a motley crew. But
to me, this team also, I think you got to watch in the National League. Has to be the Dodgers because, I think they have the strongest roster on paper. But
guys are back. Otani, Betts, Freeman.
Yeah, I think they just got to get it all together, and I think they haven't had that healthy roster.
But trust them. Rob, you brought up the point about the Dodgers similar to Houston, but the Dodgers don't have quite that pedigree that Houston has. People aren't going to buy into the Dodgers, especially after the last 2 years. Arizona upsets them early. They struggled with San Diego the year prior. I mean, this is a team that they've had a lot of great teams over the past decade, but only have that one World Series. Houston's got 2, if I'm not mistaken. So Houston's been to a World Series a few more times.
Yeah, but remember, the Dodgers have one thing that they didn't have last year or the previous years. Okay? Otani, so
right.
I know Otani's going to be the National League MVP, no question about that. That's our link here on Sportswire. So if you have a chance, go hit the sub button for us. I would really appreciate that if you are here for the first time. But then, Rob, I got to go back to the Mets real quick because I do want to talk to you guys about some general awards in both leagues. Obviously, this is the New York Baseball Talk, guys. Their show will air generally Mondays throughout the week. It's on Spotify, iTunes, but they'll also be here on our internet radio station, so definitely check them out. So this Mets team, should they somehow make the playoffs? Are they worth anything? Could they be in Arizona or Philadelphia, or they don't have what those two teams have? Where does this Mets team, should they somehow make the playoffs? And I don't know what the odds are with that, but you're the Met guy, Rob.
Well, again, we said anything could happen. They almost swept Arizona. They blew the one game. They took 2 out of 3. So anything could happen, especially if their bats get hot, because as we've seen, when the Mets bats get hot, they just, they're scoring runs. It's not like it used to be when we were complaining, even the beginning of the year in May, that the Mets.
Well, you said it on the podcast that, you really can't complain about this season because this team was going to be out of it in early to mid-May, and that this team is very much alive still to be 3 games back with 27 to go, and you have 3 in Atlanta. You still have that chance, and it's a team that's, despite the bullpen flaws, and Alonso didn't have a great year. I mean, he's done better. He's turned it on in the second half a little bit, but 29 home runs and 74 RBIs is not the year you would have hoped for. McNeil's been a little better in the second half. He's dealt with some injuries, 12 home runs. Okay, Lindor has just been, Lindor, MVP, is an MVP. Well, Otani's going to get it. He'll get some votes.
Right.
Yeah,
Otani will get it, I think. But you got to remember, he's only a DH, Otani. Lindor's got, he's a great defender, no less, yes. So that might help him.
I think the lineup's been okay. Martinez has been okay. Not a great year, but okay. Nimmo is slumped a lot, but you're going to look at the baseball card. It's been okay. Bader, I think Chris made a point earlier in the podcast, what you guys did this week. He's had a pretty good year. I can't complain about him. Marte's
been healthy all year. Right.
Marte's back. That's a huge lift for the team. Vientos has put in a whole bunch of power here. You guys, Iglesias has been a godsend for. How about him? What Iglesias has done for this team has been
out
just
of nowhere.
Amazing. But I guess with this Met team, it's going to come down to just what do they have the bullpen? You look at it. Starting pitching's been okay. Severino has been pretty good. Manaea. Yep.
Diaz. You talk about the bullpen. Diaz has to be that solid foundation at the end of that bullpen,
Yes.
for the rest of the season. If he's blowing games like he did, the other night, you can't do that. Your closer has to be that guy, especially in a weaker bullpen. So he's got to be that guy that he was a couple of years ago before his knee injury, and be that lockdown guy. Boom.
Rob's gonna not like it, but I'm gonna say this. I run into somebody today, and the Mets came up, right? Because the guy was I've known this guy for 20 years, and he's a huge diehard Met fan. He's like Rob Maraska, but he's actually older than Rob Maraska, just by a little bit. And the point is that we're talking about the Mets. I was like, this Met team, the last 10 games, wanted to take his temperature. This Met team, look at what they've done against Baltimore recently, San Diego, Arizona. You got to be feeling good about this team. He goes, he's like, Tom, this team, look at what they did on Wednesday. How about Sunday? How about the game against Houston, up 5 runs and blow that game? How about games earlier in the year with St. Louis? You lost that game. And San Diego here early in the year. This team, they're going to die. Didn't matter to him. It didn't matter that they got the White Sox. You're going to sweep them. And he, in his mind, was made up that, sure, this team's, probably had a little bit better than expected season. They're going to probably end up over 500, probably going to be ending up mathematically alive for a while in September, realistically. But in his mind, it was already to the point that the Mets are going to go to Atlanta and they're going to die. That was basically his mind was made up. Is that a fair statement, Rob, or is that you're the Met guy?
If that's how he feels, that's how he feels. I try to be positive. Like I said on the podcast to Chris, I feel like it's a bonus. We thought May we were done. If you remember, we were talking. You didn't even want to talk about the Mets on the show. And
I'll be honest. It's amazing. I'm talking about this team on August 31st right now. Eastern time, 12 in the morning. But yeah, they've had a pretty good season. I mean, they had a hot run. They had a great June. Cooled off a little bit after the All-Star break. But considering all the different things, they've had these long road trips. I mean, they're over 500. I mean, there's 7 games over 500 now, and they're in it. I mean, they're definitely in it. I don't think I feel great about this team's chances because they do have some tough series coming up. They have Philadelphia in September still. Cincinnati, I think, is still left on the calendar. Cincinnati is going to be tough. You've got Atlanta and Milwaukee to end the season. You got some tough series coming up here still. Make no mistake. You got Houston, and Houston's coming up here, I think, this after Labor Day, right? You have Houston. The Mets are playing Houston, if I'm not mistaken, right? The Mets have Houston. I thought on the schedule I saw the Mets have a homestand. Coming up here. But, look, all things to consider, the Mets are alive. I mean, they're definitely alive. And, I don't know. And just before I get into leaders one more time, Yankees, Chris, you feel good where this team is right now in the standings? You feel like that they're in a good position to hang on to the East? Or what do you say on that real quick? Just a general.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's going to go right down to the end because I don't think either team is going to play that well or that bad to either pull away or, fall out of the for the division. So right. I think it's going to be tight throughout the whole year. At this point, I'm going to say, because I'm a Yankee fan, I'm going to say, that they're going to do it. But I'm not going to count Baltimore out. And it's right. Basically a coin flip, right? It's a game. I think a game is so different than 3 just because the Mets schedule, and I'm corrected, it's Boston. So in Boston against a team that's kind of like had the Mets season almost, kind of a largely above. Yeah, you could say that.
Largely above expectation season.
Yeah.
And they're coming right off each other. And the Mets have 7 with the Phillies coming up. You got 7 with Philadelphia. And you got Toronto in Toronto. Toronto's played a little bit better lately. That's going to be a tough game. Cincinnati's no cakewalk. You got the Nationals. You got to win those. And, the Mets end the season again. They got 6 with Atlanta and Milwaukee. I mean, the schedule is it's not that easy for the Mets. I mean, they obviously got their work cut out for them. But, it's going to come down to really Atlanta and the Phillies. Those games, you got to win them. You got to win those games with Atlanta, and you got to win those games with Philadelphia. You got to hope.
You got to hopefully get some help from Atlanta, right? They got to lose a little more than you guys, a few more games than you like.
Yeah, so. I think that's a big obvious, for sure. There's no question that, you got to lose some games. But I just wanted to ask you in overall awards, I mean, American League MVP, Judge, he has it, or is there going to be a case for Bobby Witt? I mean, I think Judge has just had an
I think
unbelievable
Judge
year.
unless Judge really falls on his face these last few weeks, I think he's got it. Bobby Witt's having a great year. No disrespect, and any other year, he's probably the MVP. But it's got to be Judge, I think.
I mean, Judge has got 120 plus runs batted in, 53 home runs now, right? 51, I think, 51, 123, and going into today, 330 plus batting average. Ramirez has had a great year. Pasquantino, we mentioned. Soto's been great. But again, Judge's numbers are just, through the roof there. OPS is almost 1,200 right now. I mean, I would just have to think that there's just, really no, comparison with that. And then, Cy Young in the American League, what do you think there in the Cy Young? A little bit more complicated. Any thoughts on the Cy Young?
Skubal, right? Skubal's got, I think, the triple crown. I think he's got the ERA, the Ks.
He's got win-loss percentage, right? Win-loss, yep. He's got
that would be, but Class A is right there. I mean, he's had a great season.
I think Skubal's got 15 wins, right, going into today, like 15 wins and an ERA of in the twos, right, mid twos, right. We're talking about maybe strikeout.
Has been really good too, right? Lugo's had a really good season for Kansas City.
Lugo, I mean, he's been a big topic right now, and how about the Kansas City rotation there? Yeah, I think that's where you're going to look at. But yeah, definitely Skubal's been good. Tigers have played better lately. They're kind of alive mathematically. They're still relatively in it. I don't know if you really think much of them. Valdez has had a good year. Waka, Waka's been very good. 11-6, 3.5. Kansas City, to me, just what they've done in their with their rotation, remaking it. You look at again. Corbin Burns was right there for a while, but he's tailed off. You would have definitely had him in consideration. All right. And the National League side, Rob, Ohtani's MVP for sure, or it's just somebody else from it. I mean, Lindor is going to get votes, but I just can't see Lindor getting MVP this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Ohtani, but Lindor will probably come in second. And for the Cy Young Award, it's going to be Sale. I'm pretty sure. We'll have to see, but he's really having a great year.
And here, I'm going to ask you guys a question.
Go for it.
This is going to be the first time if Chris Sale and say Skubal wins, right? It'll be two Southpaws. Right. The last time two Southpaws won, I'm going to give you the year because it'll be too hard to guess. But it was 2002 that two Southpaws won. Who were they?
Was that the last one Pedro won?
Lefties. They have to be lefties.
Oh,
lefties. Have to be lefties.
2002.
One is easy. Did you just say it, Rob? What'd you just say?
No, I said to him that it's got to be a lefty. Let's see.
One is very easy. The other one
2002. Let's see. 2002 would be, not Randy Johnson. Randy Johnson.
Yeah.
Right. Was right because he was in the middle of that ungodly run
with Arizona.
He was like what 300
American League lefty.
370 Ks. American League.
This is a little tougher.
Okay, so it's let me think. American League 02, not Jamie Moyer, 120 game, but not that year. ERA was never good enough. 2002.
It's tough. I didn't know. I had to look it up.
You didn't know it was one of you had to look up and not an obvious one.
No, but just think about that era. Who was pitching well?
Pedro, I would have thought maybe would have been the name.
Think Pedro. American League West.
It's not Seattle, was it? No, Freddie Garcia.
No, he's righty.
I was close. That was close though. If there was a name in the ballpark.
All right, I'll give you the team. The A's.
Oh, Barry Zito.
Yes.
Barry Zito. Okay, Barry Zito. Yeah,
I forgot about Barry Zito.
Me too.
Yeah. Was that Hudson, Mulder, and Zito that rotation? Right.
Yep.
That was Zito was what 20 wins that year, like 22 wins, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
That was the year they went to the.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Barry Zito, again, signed the big contract, cross town to San Francisco, and, never really had the, track record he had with Oakland. Was okay with the Giants, right? Maybe a little bit okay, but he was an all-star.
Wasn't he hurt, and then he went to San Fran? Didn't he hurt his shoulder or something? He was.
Did he hurt his
injury? Yeah, I thought there was an injury there, either right at the end of Oakland or right at the beginning of San Fran, because he wasn't
the beginning of San Francisco. Yeah, he wasn't. He went from being like an ace to a really middle. He was like Tom Glavine was with the Mets. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't
Right.
He wasn't
You know, he's-
Tom Glavine.
Yeah, I mean, you
No,
probably
no.
looked at it
Maybe
right.
that
He
one
won-
year.
He was on those like 2 World Series teams with San Francisco. He was on 2 of the teams, right? But just never really had the success with the Giants that he had with Oakland. You know, again, I'm sure he had 1 or 2 years, but yeah, Zito's a good one. Zito never lived up to that really career he had in the first part of it. Never really lived up to it. That's a good. Okay, so
He
again,
really only had the one big year for Oakland. When you look at his career, I'm gonna send it to you this way.
was it 160? So I'm guessing about 150 wins, like 160, something like that, right?
Yeah,
Probably
like he had the one big year, but other than that, he was more or less a 500. Not a bad pitcher, but not his
middle
Cy
of the
Young year,
road.
you
He
know?
was a
Wasn't
middle
late.
of the road.
Yeah.
Middle of the road. He was a middle of the road star. That's what he was.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
So that's why when he went to San Fran, he was that or a little lower, you know. So
Yeah, he only after that the most wins he had
165 and 143. So,
Yeah.
Hudson was
middle of
I
the
think a little bit
rotation guy, you know,
3,
number
4,
three,
maybe even a 4.
right.
Hudson though had still some very big years after he left.
Mulder was the guy that got hurt, didn't he? He had the right because then he tried coming back with St. Louis, I think.
Yeah, he did. I remember that he
Something-
pitched. Didn't have the success that the other two had. But he had some big years. But I think his career was like, did he even win 100 games? Maybe just maybe right 100, right, a little over 100.
Maybe,
but
yeah.
Hudson was definitely a guy that's
And he hung
one of
around a little
those.
longer.
Yeah, Hudson was definitely one of those guys that, you look at and say, okay, could have been, something. He won a lot. I mean, he was a big time pitcher, but fell
Hudson
off the
won
Hall of Fame
222 games in his career.
and doesn't get Hall of Fame discussion, right? Is he even on the ballot
No.
still?
He had some big years, even with
Well,
Atlanta.
he's in that Mark Burley territory, right? We're kind of around the same career, kind of. Maybe Hudson was probably more dominant, but their careers are kind of similar in that sense, right? Hudson's 222, right? Yeah, I'm looking at 222 and 133, 3.5 ERA, 20 games once, All-Star a few times, 4 times. I mean, yeah, he really wasn't. He won a World Series, right? Did he win 1 World Series, right, with San Francisco, right? Was he on one of those teams? I mean, his career was pretty good.
Yeah,
I don't know, 222 and 133.
And Mulder
3.5.
was really good until he got hurt. Because you could see
Mulder.
he had 21, 19, 15, 17, 16,
Then he dropped
and
off.
then 6,
He
0,
dropped.
0.
Kind of like the Brandon Webb drop off. It's like boom, 3 or 4 great years, and then that's
Yep.
it. Over.
Yeah, that's
Over.
a good.
But
good comparison.
Hudson, just I don't know. I don't know why he's not in Hall of Fame consideration. I don't even remember if I mentioned him on a Sportswire show prior. He was on the ballot recently, right? 21, maybe 22, right? Was he on the ballot? I'm looking at it right here. I'll pull it up.
And you know what? A lot of these guys like him, really good. If they were
very good
10 years
Hall.
later,
They're
because
in the
now
Hall of Fame.
we're not going to see a 300 game winner anymore, right?
No.
So that's done.
No.
So 222 would probably get you in, like that career probably gets you into the Hall of Fame now.
I would have even said with Hudson because he had a good career. It was like because he was on a lot of good teams, right? Atlanta for a while, they were very good. Oakland was still good. He was still an ace. 222. I mean, he was in this generation, but yeah, it becomes 3 years later. 222 is like, but it's a good not, but it's like Mark Burley territory. Mark Burley was a very good pitcher. Today would be considered a surefire Hall of Famer, but doesn't really get the kind of recognition. More or less kind of like a Tim Hudson. Mark Burley. I mean, I think he has 2 no-hitters, right? Mark Burley has multiple no-hitters, if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean,
perfect. Wasn't one a perfect game or no? Or is it?
Might be. I mean, it might be. I'm looking at Burley now. 214 and 160. 214 and 1, very identical. And he's got.
But I
he's
don't
got
think Burley, like when you seen him pitch, like for me, like he was never the ace.
No.
Right?
He's on the ballot. Still. He gets more votes than Hudson. Hudson was an ace.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand that.
Burley was a solid pitcher. I'm not putting the guy down at all, but I never thought he was a Hall of Famer.
I would. The only thing, I mean, he pitched 200 innings every year. I mean, that's the only thing I'd say that's really. I mean, he ended well, 15 wins, but he's not. I don't know. I would think Hudson would get the same votes as Burley. I don't think Burley's getting in, honestly. 214 and 160, 3.8. Their career length is the same, 16 years. 16 years. They actually have the same career. I mean, Burley's got 100 more innings, but 100 less strikeouts. He does have the one World Series victory, but he's got, if you believe in gold gloves, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 4 gold gloves. I don't know if that's really an indicator, but I don't know. It's an interesting question. Why is Burley getting Hall of Fame more votes than Hudson? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
and they both had, really good careers, I mean.
Oh, listen, no question. No question.
Yeah, Burley was he was a workhorse, though,
Yeah, but so was Hudson. You're only talking about 100 more innings, 31-26 to like 32-70. I mean, you're talking about Hudson's got more strikeouts. I mean, I'm looking at Hudson's career. He's got 20 wins, ERAs 1, 2, 3 times under 3. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 All-Star games. Okay, and his second to last year was an All-Star. Last year wasn't terrible, it wasn't great, but he's got kind of comparable numbers, really. He got 15 wins or more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. I don't know what the issue is, but I guess we'll see. Thank you, Zilla, for the comments. The guys appreciate that. Anything else you guys want to say? Baseball. I'm going to save football for next week. It's still football hasn't. I know, Chris. You have a show that you gave me yesterday. I'm going to play it over the weekend. I got a bunch of shows to put, which is nice. We have a nice bunch of shows I got to play: wrestling, baseball, hockey. We'll play them as much of them as we can. But anything else you guys want to share that we missed baseball wise? Anything else that we're missing?
I just want to say the show is going to be on Tuesday because of the holiday, so we're going to take it on Tuesday.
Well, that's totally fine. I'm on Sportswire twice that day, so there's no holidays on Sportswire. It's kind of like that's the rest.
The one thing I'm looking forward to these, especially like just the last month, is to see what team kind of stands out, because we haven't seen that.
No,
we, like I said, like every week we see that team get hot. And then, like the following week, they kind of fall out.
Are the Cubs that team that might be able to put it together? They did it last year.
I don't know. You know what team I think could put it together if they could stay healthy is the Dodgers, right? Because at the beginning of the year, we all loved the Dodgers. They got Ohtani, Yamamoto. They got Hernandez. I want to see this team healthy. We haven't seen them fully healthy, and they're starting to get healthy now. The lineup looks like it's. What's his name came back tonight? Freddie Freeman came back today. So Max Muncy came back a couple of weeks ago. So they're starting to get healthy. So if this team could get healthy by the time the playoffs start, this might be the team to watch, especially in the playoffs. If they can get fully healthy, especially pitching wise. Kershaw pitched tonight. He didn't look great, but. It's only a couple of starts now for him.
I think you're more concerned about him in October, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just get him healthy, stretch him out a little bit. So that's a team that, to me, that could pull away a little bit, but not much, but just enough to say, all right, that's the team to watch. So we'll see.
And the White Sox, we think, are going to definitely lose 120 games, right? We're in agreement.
I think so. I
think
so.
I mean, Andrew Benintendi's right there, middle of the guy with lineup with 15 home runs and 47 RBIs. I mean, this is
that's bad.
I mean, it's atrocious. I was looking at this lineup, and their batting average.
I feel like if you got cut from the White Sox, right? If you were a player, and you got.
I mean, you know what? The 03 Tigers were pretty bad, right? But they found a way late to get the 43 wins. But this team is I don't even know how this team. How quick this rebuild is going to be, because the Tigers, at least a couple years later went to the World Series. They were good for a long period of time. I don't know what this team, I'm looking at this roster, they
better hope their farm system produces some really good players and right away.
Years ago, that was the best team in the American League, back-to-back playoffs. Tony La Russa is manager, and they're going to probably, like you said, lose 120 some odd games, 31 and 105. So you got to go 12 and 14 the rest of the way to avoid 42 and 1.
I don't see them doing that. I don't see them.
I don't either.
Anywhere near a 500 team.
Yeah, they're that bad.
I wonder what they're.
I'm looking at it tonight. I mean, this was just.
Let's see what their. All right, let's see what the rest of their schedule is. real
I'll
quick
give it to
before
you.
we go.
All
Right. They got the Mets now. Then they play
No.
at Baltimore, at Boston. Then they come home to play Cleveland and Oakland. Oakland's been playing really well.
Oakland's had a good second half. Oakland's, I think, over
Yeah.
500 in the second half.
They got the Angels in LA, and then they got the Padres in San Diego. Then they come home to play the Angels, and then they go to Detroit the last three. There's no way they're going to be 500 with that schedule.
Yeah, I'm looking at the schedule now for us. Yeah, 31 and 105 after tonight. And I'm looking at it right here.
You said they have to win, 12 games?
12, yeah. Baltimore, 3 in Baltimore, forget it. Boston, forget it. Cleveland, no. Oakland, no. Yeah, I mean,
maybe the Angels they'll beat. I don't know, because the Angels are.
I'm going to say 8. I'm going to say they get 8 wins. They're going to get 39.
Cool.
I think 39. Well, if you think about it, right? You got the Angels, 6 times? Maybe you're lucky get 3. You're going to win 1 game here, 1 game there. That's where I look at them more or less. That's kind of where I see
I feel bad for their fans,
Yeah, it's a franchise. It's a franchise that's had some success recently. Like I said, they've won a World Series. They've had teams in the playoffs. I mean, it hasn't been, it has.
2 years ago, we were talking about them being, possibly going to the World Series.
On this,
a couple of years ago.
They've had a good franchise. It's been it hasn't been really like the doldrums for them. It hasn't been the Royals have been worse off. The Tigers have been worse, but it's what it is. But we'll have to find out. Obviously, you can catch these guys. They'll be here throughout the weekend via the Listen Live button on Sportswire Radio. We're going to keep the show in the rotation. We've also got some other shows. Pinstripe Chronicles are on the rotation. We've got Neil Villapiano's Don Eager Joe tribute. We've got wrestling from the Squared Circle Radio. A work in progress. The sit-down marks are back. So we got some really good shows that are back with us on sports. But I got a nice little rotation. So definitely looking forward to that. The Liftoff Jets are here with us also the weekend. So a lot of stuff is happening on Sportswire. A lot of good things. We have a new podcast coming on, I think, with Ashley D. That'll be here down the road. So some really good podcast that you'll see. And look forward to people tuning in. Randy's got his show back in the next month or so with hockey starting. So great stuff. Let's go to closing thoughts. I'm going to go with you, Rob, first. You've got the floor. I passed the baton to you again. Thank you for the Topps Cup, which has a spider on it still. It still has the spider on it. Maybe it's going to have the spider on. I mean, thank you, Rob. Maybe the spider was the gift.
It's a deadly spider, so watch out.
I don't know how that's spider.
Wasn't that the Glen Allen Hill story, right? Years ago that he woke up and all of a sudden fell through a table because a spider was on him or something like that?
Something like that.
Hey, Chris, I'll make sure yours doesn't have the spider.
Thank you for that.
I appreciate it.
But I'll give you the floor, Rob.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say quick about the Mets. We
Yeah.
spoke about it on the podcast. The thing with the Mets is Alonso has not had that, really, really great streak, and it's his walk year, and I'm really surprised. So if he gets hot and he has that in the last month, then anything could happen with the Mets. All right. Alonso has not had a hot streak.
29 and 74 is not an Alonso season in a full year.
No. So, that's it. Like I said, we're going to tape the show on Tuesday. Thanks for playing it. Thanks, everybody, for listening to it.
Got some good shows. We'll get your logo up eventually next to these shows. We can take the Talking Rivals off when this comes off. But, yeah, take your time. We'll have some great shows in the rotation. Some of them.
We're working on a better logo, too. So,
yes.
That was just.
Yeah, whatever you want. Listen, I mean, I could do a logo. I do them. But obviously, there's some of our shows. The sit-down marks are with us. The Pinstripe Chronicles. We have a few that haven't been around in a while. Grappling with Canada. The Work in Progress. Neil's show. Neil's been very successful. Squared Circle Radio. Those guys have been doing. I mean, man, fantastic numbers. They have a couple of shows with in 1,000 or 2,000 views, and on the radio, They did really well. Yeah, they were one of these shows that just they never seem to have gotten a following, but in the last 6 months. Kind of like the Pinstripe Chronicles were last year. The Pinstripe Chronicles never really, not to say they didn't have a following, but all of a sudden last year it clicked, and they've got Bobby shows get they get a lot of views here, and they get on YouTube, they get a big crowd, and they're one of those shows. Those two have kind of been the ones. I mean, Neil's got the following for sure because he's on the Hockey Podcast Network. A Work in Progress has been a stable. So You guys have had some really good guests, kind of a good, kind of really niche show, the Liftoff Jets. We get some clicks off that. So, yeah, great stuff. That's the link. That's the rotation. Check it out. We'll play it on Tuesday. We'll keep this show on the rotation for a little bit longer. Chris, want to give you closing thoughts? Obviously, I'll mix in some football on Friday's show. We'll go back and forth, but baseball is still king for now. Both New York teams are alive. You guys are the New York baseball show, so wanted to focus on that. And I pass the baton to you, and anything else you want to plug, share, or say, take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Rob, great show as always. Like I said, I'm just looking forward to this last few weeks of the regular season for baseball. The Dodgers, like I said, I mentioned, they're actually getting hot tonight. They're beating the D-backs in Arizona, and Ohtani hit a home run. So that's just
43 now, 43.
Yeah. So, so I'm looking forward to it. And obviously football next week, which is going to be great. A lot of good matchups in the first week. I mean,
we'll preview some of them. We'll go back and forth.
Definitely, man. And listen, if you're in a survivor league, it's so tough to pick a winner this week because there was so many really good matchups. So I'm really looking forward to this week. Obviously, Jets hopefully going to have a big season. Just got to stay healthy. So
yeah, I heard when I heard on X, some people were saying winning the Super Bowl. I'm like, here we go with these expectations.
I know. I like being the underdog that nobody likes to talk about. So
because you don't get disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it. Our second episode for Rob and I on Tuesday of New York baseball talk. Yep. And then Wednesday I'll be on with Sharman. We'll probably preview in week 1. We did our full preview the last 2 weeks of each.
Yeah, I caught some of that. You had it with the man behind, obviously, Play Like a Jet, and then you guys did a little bit of it this week. So that was kind of cool to hear a little bit of it. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it, man. We're going to preview week 1 on the Liftoff Jets, and you could catch me CP7NY on Twitter and Liftoff Jets, and hopefully soon Rob and I will be making up a Twitter page for the.
No worries, we'll obviously take care of it. That's Rob's X. Chris had his. I just played up. You can check them out. Rob's so old, he had the Sportnarium logo up, so it's okay. Keep it up. It's good. It's okay. Remember, it's good. It's okay. The background's good.
No, we're gonna get that. Hopefully, we'll get the logo made up, and we'll put that up on Twitter and have an X.
Yeah, listen, I'm really excited about the show. I enjoyed it a lot. I've played it a few times throughout the week. I think it's a good mix. I'm really happy about it. We got some really good shows on Sportswire. I'm really excited about sports season getting back. It's good because we have obviously wrestling is stable, but the radio is more sports centric. So it's kind of the irony, but we're actually more sports centric on the radio. So I'm excited about that. We also simulcast the show here on the radio. So thanks everybody for now. That was Chris. I think the last name's different. It's not Pizzaya. It's Pizzaya, if I'm not mistaken.
Pizzaya, right.
I got it. I feel for all these years, I was like, wow, it's Chris Pizzaya. I'm like, I couldn't get it right, but now I listen to it like someone like he should have just told me and corrected me. But it's Chris Pizzaya and Rob.
That's all right.
But the most important thing is getting somebody's last name.
I've heard it said much worse, so it's okay.
Well, in the wrestling world, if you say somebody's name wrong, they will literally take you off the screen and they will hang you. So I want to make sure we have your name right because you are in our Hall of Fame. You are Chris Pizzaya. You were the host of the New York Baseball Talk alongside Rob Maraska. You were also the co-host of the Liftoff Jets alongside our buddy Sharman Phillip. And one of these days during this season, when I have some time, I want to get on your podcast and put the podcast in the Hall of Fame. So I owe you guys that. We'll definitely take care of that. And Rob is also in the Hall of Fame, and he's got his own show finally. And I'm sure Joe Dell is going to keep listening, and he can keep the Taylor Talk to himself. But thank you, gentlemen, for your hard work. Can't wait for Tuesday. Can't wait for the rest of the weekend. I'll be here 6 times the next 3 days, so you'll definitely see my face a lot. But until then, my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters. If you're on sportswireradio.org, you are going back to your regularly scheduled programming overnight. You'll have a whole list of great shows to be played throughout the weekend, including theirs show also and some others. And I'll be back here a couple of times, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 11 p.m. Eastern Time with D. Savage, the Savage Animal, and Thomas McEntee. So great stuff there. But until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one Global